Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo. We're back. We're all back together again. I am joined by my two absolutely ravenous co-hosts. It is going to be an crazy, loaded show. January 10th. First time we're all back together in the new year. Zolo had a weekend from heaven and from hell. I'm sure Uncle Sam did as well. To my right, it's none other than the one and only Uncle Sam.
Hello.
And to my left, it's our very own Mr. Zolo, Mike Palazzolo.
Blessed, go blue.
Behind the computer, stroking his own sausage, it's Bruce, the tugboat. Vindity.
How you doing?
Why is that camera pointed at me?
How you doing?
Why is that camera pointed at me?
I don't know. I didn't.
Flip to that camera right now.
Doesn't matter. I'm actually taking it back home.
Anyways,
I need it for
sucks,
myself.
though.
Entering his voyeur phase.
I need it for myself. Here, I can give myself right here.
Okay, chat's popping off already. There's a whole bunch of you watching us right now. We are fucking ready. Yeah, here we go. We have a weekend of football to recap. It's a loaded Wednesday. We have a weekend of football to recap. We have coaching carousel to talk about. The regular season is over. Michigan and Jim Harbaugh are national champions. Uncle Sam's. How are you feeling today?
Good.
You ready?
That was a good. That was a good.
That was a good. That was a good. You're actually good today, aren't you?
Yes.
It's not just the fake good. You're good today. Zolo, how are you today?
Tired, but I'm good.
Bruce, how are you today?
Terrible.
Perfect. That's
You know why he's good? Because he gets to tell me to shut the fuck up every second of every day.
As he should. As he should. Okay.
Can I fire him?
Just try and you don't want to cripple yourself.
Listen, I'd rather
I know
cripple
you're
myself.
already crippled. But
I'd rather cripple
Rigo will
myself.
be back soon. Rigo will be back
Okay.
soon. He'll run out of money soon and be back. Anyways, here we go. We talked about where we're going to start. I'm not going to ask anybody about their weekend. We're not going to get into meets. Zolo has a full weekend recap for us. I think we should probably just go straight into that before we discuss Michigan,
you had
Washington.
the fucking traveling shit from hell.
I did.
So, Zolo's 5 things
did.
about why not to fly Delta Airlines. We're gonna open the show with that. First things first.
I thought that was Zolo's 5 things was first things first.
Well, it's not. We're not actually going to do a Zolo's 5 things on why not to fly Delta Airlines. First things first. We have a playoff game at Ford Field on Sunday night. I want real quick your thoughts on the atmosphere that's going to surround that game.
So they started doing new things Sunday. I wish you would have came because you would have saw firsthand. But they started doing new things. There's pyro now. They blow off fireworks when they score. They blow off fireworks and they come out of the tunnel. There's confetti and streamers every time they score. The vibe was pretty good on Sunday, I would say. And I mean, this is for those that haven't been keeping up, this is the get-in price, the get-in-the-door price for Sunday's game at Ford Field. Lions-Rams, Stafford's return. First playoff game in the history of Ford Field outside of Super Bowl 40. First Lions home playoff game since 1993. The get-in price at the moment. Oh, last but not least, first game in the city of Detroit since 1957. First Lions playoff game in the city limits since 1957 because the other ones were in Pontiac.
Correct.
The get-in price is $600. It's the highest priced get-in price for a wild card round playoff game ever since they've been tracking tickets just to get into the door. A good seat to get into that game, or if you want a decent seat for that game, is like in the 1,000 range right now. So people are ready. We've been waiting for this for a long time. I think Sunday is going to be insane, even though it's going to be extremely fucking cold.
So as a season ticket holder, you get first dibs?
I got my tickets. And then before they have a general on sale. Like you can actually buy tickets for the Lions right now.
I'm just asking. You guys get first dibs being a season ticket holder.
Well, I get my tickets.
Huh?
I get my tickets.
So basically, you get your tickets to go there.
Yeah. I get my
But
tickets.
you just had to pay a little more for them?
Yeah, I mean they do dynamic pricing, so different games are priced differently.
Okay.
The price that I paid for Sunday is not bad at all, but it gets bad from there if they keep winning.
Right.
But I didn't pay a bad price at all.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
This is a huge thing. Did you ever consider maybe selling them
a
and
part
paying
of
for
me,
your tickets for next year?
a part of me, yeah, a part of me is considering it.
I'm just putting it out there.
A very small part of me is considering selling my tickets. It's not going to happen.
Well, because here's what I'm saying. If you could basically, let's say you pay for your home games for next year off this one ticket. How many tickets you have?
I only have 2.
You have 2.
Yeah, I
So
can
you're,
pay.
You're looking at your good position right now.
Yes, for what my seat is going for, I could pay off my entire season tickets from this year. Won't cover what I paid for the Michigan ticket on Sunday or Monday, but that's a different story. But I could pay off my season tickets if I wanted.
The ones coming up for this year.
The price that I'm getting for one ticket at the moment, I'd have to check it again, but the price that I'm getting for one ticket at the moment would pay off my season ticket, my price,
2024 season ticket.
my 2023, which the games I've already
It
been
would
to.
paid for this
Correct.
year. Yeah.
But I mean, as far as going forward, because the tickets went up substantially this year, could you pay your tickets off for this year off this one ticket?
I can come close.
Probably.
I can come close. Yeah, my tickets went up substantially. So
Okay.
Okay.
Well, can you like brain it in your head?
there's a part of me
Calculate
that
it?
wants to do it. There's a part of me that wants to do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I've been waiting for Sunday for a long time.
You can't not go.
This is my
not go.
This is like the biggest, like two sports bucket list things for me were Michigan football playing in a national championship. I always needed to be there if that happened, and the Lions playing in a home playoff game. I'm
there.
I'm getting both of those in 1 week.
And winning.
I'm getting both of those in 1 week. Like
I hear
something.
ya.
Sometimes it just happens, and now it's happening
I
in a
just
1
want
week
to know
span.
if there's any guys that were alive back when they beat the Dallas Cowboys, and if anybody was there. And you remember how absolutely deafening the Silverdome was with 85,000 plus sold.
Okay. Now, we're going to talk more about that.
Okay.
Friday's show is going to pretty much be
Playoff preview.
our entire playoff preview.
Okay, cool.
I can't wait to talk about
Well, let's talk about Michigan.
it. First things
Get
first,
it out of the way.
University of Michigan National Championships. They defeat Washington and Michael Penix on the grandest of stages in Houston. Now, Zolo was at part of the game. I have been patiently waiting for this full recap. All right. Okay, Michigan obviously won the game 34-13. All of you probably watched it. I want to hear about Zolo's travels to the game. And then I would like to hear about his experience at the game. And then I want to hear you, being the Washington and Michael Penix fan that you were, thinking that they were going to win. I want to hear what you thought of the game. So let's go. Zolo, take it away. Bruce, you need to go in on Zolo here. I want this a
Already
full
doing it.
This is a full Zolo monologue.
So it started out like any normal day. I've never said that before. The way my flight schedule was set up, I booked this flight at the end of October when they beat Michigan State. They went on the bye. That's when I started. And Bob's in the chat. I asked Bob, I'm like, hey, should we get flights? Should we get hotels? Should we get tickets? Bob's like, laugh out loud. I already booked my flight. So I booked my flight. And the way it was setting up at the time was you and I had this event on Saturday that was
Correct.
carrying into Sunday. I didn't need to go to the part of the event on Sunday, but Mike Kassab, if you're out there, if you're listening to this, I went to make you happy. And it was nice. We had a nice time. We got to go in the suite for the Lions game on Sunday with Fanatics. It was a whole thing. We had some Fab Five members coincidentally in the suite. It was a nice time. I had to do that. And by the time I could check to see if I could leave Sunday night, all of the flights were booked. What little flights there were like they were $3,000, and I looked to change my flight to get on certain. It didn't work out. I paid a good price for my flight. By the time Michigan had won, the flights indirect or direct into Houston were $1,200. There was no way to do it one way. $1,200 one way. So I couldn't do that. So in order to get there, I had to fly from here to Minneapolis. That flight left at 7 in the morning on Monday. And then from there, I was going Minneapolis straight to Houston. It was supposed to land at 1. My plan was to get to the hotel 1:30, and that was it. We were going to have a day. But there was crazy weather all over the country for the last 2 days. And got into Minnesota. It was snowing. Still had no issues. That flight got in early. It left slightly early from Minneapolis. But as we got closer to Houston, as we crossed into Texas, I keep up with the flight tracker, and I noticed the flight tracker on Delta disappeared. I couldn't see the estimated time of arrival, and a bunch of us on the plane who were all going to the game. There was Washington fans on my flight, mostly Michigan fans, but there were Washington fans on my flight too. We noticed we were like doing a zigzag pattern, and then we were late. And then the flight tracker just disappeared. You couldn't even access it anymore. And eventually the pilot came on the radio and he goes, folks, I got some bad news. Due to the weather in Houston, and it was, as a lot of people know, there was tornadoes and that 2 touchdown outside of Houston. There was crazy storms outside of Houston all day. And in Houston, they go, due to the weather pattern, they keep shutting the airport down in Houston, no flights in or out. And we've run out of fuel. So we're getting diverted to San Antonio. All I know right now is we're landing in San Antonio, and we're going to refuel and make an assessment from there. So I'm like, am I fucked? I'm thinking, am I fucked? We land in San Antonio, and they have us in the middle of the tarmac, like away from the main terminal in San Antonio. And they go, we're getting some stairs brought to us right now, and you can make a decision if you want to get off the plane. But if you get off the plane, if you go down the stairs, 2 caveats. Number 1, you cannot get back on the plane. You're done. Number 1. Number 2, we have 1 car that's driving that can seat 3 people at a time that's driving to the terminal, and it's about 10 minutes to the terminal, and it's a process. So you could do it if you want. So I'm looking at the Michigan fans around me at this point in the program. I'm like, what should we do? I think it's like 2:30 at this point, and we don't have enough information. Should we get off this plane, rent a car, and drive to Houston? And for those that don't know, it's 3 hours, and it's through bad storms and traffic at that point.
I have to interrupt you real quick. There's a huge piece of breaking news that just came out. Please don't lose track of where you're at. Nick Saban just retired.
Wow.
He's not the only one that's going to be going.
Okay,
wow.
Continue. Sorry, I just literally, with 1 minute ago, it popped up.
I had a weird feeling about that one, and I wonder, are you thinking what I'm thinking? If he goes pro. I wonder if he goes pro.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Okay, sorry, continue.
Anyways, wow, that's fucking huge. Anyways.
We'll touch back on it.
So we have to make a decision at this point on if we're going to get out of the car and drive. Now, the captain comes on, and he goes, here's the deal. We're still waiting to refuel. They should have been refueling us as soon as we landed. He goes, we're still waiting to refuel, but they've opened Houston back up. That being said, there's another pattern coming in, and we don't know if by the time we get there, if they're going to close Houston again. He goes, we've been given a separate route that goes over Corpus Christi in case we need to turn back to Corpus Christi. But, it's up to you what you want to do. So some people got off. I'd say about 10 to 15 people, Michigan and Washington fans, got off the plane, rented cars, and went. I looked at the nearest Michigan fans and these Washington fans around me. I'm like, are you going to do it? And they said, no, we're going to take the risk because I think that no matter what, if all goes according to plan, we're still going to have a shot to get in faster than if we drive it. So we took the risk. It happened. Eventually, it took forever, but they finally refueled us, and we got off the ground at about 3:45 local time to get to Houston, which is an hour later here, 4:30, and the game's at 7:30 here. So I have a 3-hour window. I'm thinking by the time I land, if all goes according to plan, I'm going to land at 4:30 local time. I'm going to have 2 hours I have a bag with me to get my bag to the hotel and meet up with my travel party, which is my brother and our friends, and to see where I have to find out where they're going to be, and it's going to cost me a lot of money to Uber all over town, but fuck it. I'm going to make this, I think. So we're halfway through the air, and the pilot's like, I think we're going to have a good shot to make it to Houston. We're going to be good. So looks like it's 20 minutes to landing. I pull out the tracker. We're near Houston, and I could see the weather. I could see how bad it looks. And then all of a sudden the flight tracker disappears again, and I know we're fucked. I know we're fucked at that point. We flew around Houston for about a half hour, and the same thing happened. It's like 4:30 local time, which is when I thought we were going to land, and the pilot goes, "Folks, I got some bad news. They've shut down Houston again. They shut the airport down." And we're gonna have to divert back to San Antonio again. So I hedged and lost at that point, and I like started to shed tears on the plane. I'm like, I texted my family. I'm like, I just really need a hug right now, and no one's here to give me a hug. And it just felt like someone didn't want me. It just felt like it wasn't meant to be, and someone didn't want me to be at the game. So I text my brother, and he's like, I'm so sorry. Like I'm literally crying for you. He found someone to buy my ticket. I'm not going to disclose what I paid to go to that game. It was a lot of money. He found a guy at the tailgate to buy my ticket, and this guy's blowing me up at this point. He's like, "You need to tell me now so I can get this Ticketmaster ticket." And I'm looking around. I'm like, "What's the plan?" There were people near me that had rented cars in the air, and there were almost no cars left in San Antonio because a lot of people were getting diverted to Dallas. It happened to John Harbaugh. I don't know if you guys know that.
Yeah.
John Harbaugh missed the beginning of the game. He showed up in the middle of the first quarter because they got diverted. People were getting diverted to Corpus Christi, San Antonio, Dallas. So the rental cars were disappearing quick because of all the diverted flights. Anyways, I went back. Under pressure, I like right before I landed, I text the guy. I'm like, "I'm sorry, dude. I'm keeping my ticket. There's no way I'm missing this fucking game. I don't know when I'm going to show up." I thought I could be out a lot of money at that point. I get off the plane. I look at the nearest Michigan fans. I found a crew of 3 people from Brownstown, all Michigan fans, and I started rolling with them. They got a Hertz car. But then I got like a weirdly bad vibe because they were in the Gold Club with Hertz, and you can go rent the car right from the rental car stand at that point. And no one was at the stand, and they were in the back of the line. And I'm looking at the Hertz parking lot, and there's like 2 cars left and people in front of them. So I didn't think they were going to get a car. This other Michigan guy looks at me as he gets his keys. His name was Brad. And Sarah later texted me and said, "What's his name, Brad?" I go, "I'm fairly certain my dad sent this guy down to fucking save my ass. He's from Muskegon. He was from the Muskegon area. He graduated Michigan engineering class of 2007, lives in North Dakota now." And he's like, do you want to come with me? I have room in my car for 3 people. Do you want to come? And I go, I looked at the other people who are going to bring me, and I go, "I'm just going to go with him. He's got a car." And they were like, "No hard feelings, go." And this Brad, his name is, I'm not going to give his last name, but he literally saved my ass.
Shout out to Brad.
I think my dad genuinely sent this guy. And it was 5 o'clock at that point.
You were fucking
Hitchhiking.
hitchhiking.
It's hitchhiking.
Nothing wrong with that.
I could have got killed. Brad is a season ticket holder who was meeting other season ticket holders. He doesn't go to games, but he's a donor. So he had access to a face value ticket to the game and a parking pass.
Oh, wow.
So his plan was to go fly into Houston. He had a car at Houston, and he was going to drive and go and park and be there. But it didn't work out. So he sold his ticket in the air. But he's like, "I'm still going to go. I have business here in Houston." He's like, just come with me. He was the nicest guy. It was the most like I'm with a stranger. It was a pleasant car ride. Like we talked the perfect amount. We got each other's backgrounds and whatever. I didn't annoy him. I don't think he didn't annoy me. But we had to drive through that storm. It's a torrential downpour.
Wow.
And like in Texas, if you guys have never experienced a storm in the South, in Texas, when there's lightning, it lights up. It looks like it's next to you, and it lights up the entire sky. It was raining sideways for the second half of our journey. Like once we got past Austin, with hail, with massive hail and lightning, and we're going 90 in hydroplaning.
Holy shit! It was raining harder than a cow pissing on a flat rock.
It's a 3-hour drive. It's a 3-hour drive, but we did it in like 2:45. Like he hauled ass. There were no cops. It felt like it was meant to be. And
They were all
then
at the stadium.
an hour into the drive is when the game started, and we saw the first Donovan Edwards touchdown, which the people who I was at the game with said that was the loudest point they've ever. And most of the people I was with, their freshman year, their first game. So my brother's freshman year, his first game he ever witnessed was Appalachian State. So this was a culmination for them of a lot of things because that's how Michigan started for them. Whereas if they had been there the year before, they would have lost to Ohio State in the game of the century in 06. And regardless, they said that the Donovan Edwards touchdown at the beginning of the game in the first quarter was the loudest thing they've ever heard in their life. And the Washington people, we were next to the Washington section. It was like 4 sections over in the end zone. The Washington people said the same. They said they've never heard anything as loud as when Donovan Edwards scored the first touchdown of the game, the 30-plus yard run. Anyways, we're approaching Houston. It's he's got a blue lot parking pass that didn't work out, it's a lot next to the stadium, but it's so close to the stadium that for terrorism purposes, they shut it down like a couple minutes after kickoff.
Oh, what the
So we don't know where we're going to park. We thought we were parking next to the stadium, and we don't know where we're going to park at this point. With an hour left, I'm like, it was the beginning of the second quarter. It's storming. I'm like, at the beginning of the second quarter, I'm like, you need to make it. He sold his ticket. I'm like, let me get you a ticket. Let me buy you a fucking ticket to this game. He's like, I can't make you pay for the whole thing. As a thank you to Brad, I bought a ticket for him, and he paid me a little bit back, but it's fine. I would have bought it for free, but the prices were plummeting because the game was going at that point. But we got there. We got off the freeway as they were going in for half.
Okay.
And it was a pain in the ass to actually get into the stadium for where we parked. Like we were basically sprinting, and it was wet. There was foot deep puddles. Like I was muddy at that point. My shoes that I brought were ruined. But I finally get into the stadium, and I'm walking down into my section as Will Johnson intercepted Michael Penix to start the third quarter. And I saw the third quarter was nerve wracking. I saw a close game. Like it was 17-13, or I'm sorry, it was
17-10.
20. It was 17-10.
You know, that play, that's when he got his ankle stepped on by his guard.
Michigan, yeah, that's
and
when
he was fucked from then out.
So it was 20. Michigan kicked a field goal, made it 20-10. I saw the Washington field goal, and it was just a punt off in the third quarter. So I think I'm seeing a nerve-wracking game. But I made it, and by the time I got there, they had all these beers and seltzers waiting for me. Like, my dad always told the story of when John McCain showed up to try and liberate the Hanoi Hilton when he fought in Vietnam. And my dad always told this story that the people who were in John McCain's unit were like, that's the Maverick. Like, he literally got out, and there was a plume of smoke behind him, and his people were and he ended up being a POW anyways when it was all said and done.
Correct.
But my brother was like, it was like the story Dad used to tell about John McCain when you showed up. Everyone went crazy. The whole set, like people had known my story at that point in the section. So the people in front of me and behind me are like, dude, I cannot believe you made it here. We didn't think it was going to happen. And it was just a big party from there. And then the next thing you know, we're waiting in the fourth quarter. I'm like, this is the drive we're going to tell our kids about. 10 minutes left in the first quarter. Michigan finally lets J.J. McCarthy throw it, and there's a post route to Colston Loveland, goes for 20 yards. Roman Wilson gets him into the red zone, and there's a Blake Corum run with 7 minutes to go, and all of the scoring, had I been there the whole game, all of the scoring was right in front of me. The trophy ceremony was right in front of me.
You were actually lucky because you seen the best part of the game.
Saw the best part of the game.
Because the first half was dog shit.
Yeah, so I saw the first Blake Corum touchdown, and it's like we're like, okay, we need that defensive stand. Like this might happen, and then came the Mikey Sanderstill interception, which he almost returned for a touchdown, and that was right in front of us as well. I got that on video, him getting tackled, and that's when it set in. There was 4 minutes to go. It's like, holy fuck, this whole day wasn't for nothing. Like this, I get a little emotional, but. My teams in sports, in life, never win anything. They never win. I haven't seen one of my teams win since the Red Wings in 2008. And it's only been heartbreak since then. I was there when Sidney Crosby won the Cup in 2009. I went to a World Series game in 2012, and I watched Game 4 as the Giants won at Comerica Park. I was there for that. That doesn't count as much because they got swept. I saw both Michigan basketball losses in 2013, which they shouldn't have lost. That was bullshit. In 2018, I've seen countless heartbreaking Lions losses. My teams don't win shit. in the era of social media, which I would say is like 2009 onwards is when Twitter got big. In the era of social media of Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, my teams have never won anything. So I was just convinced my teams were never going to win. I was convinced. And one day it just happens. One day your team wins. And Michigan football in particular, I never would have thought that. And it's a bigger picture Harbaugh conversation, but Jim Harbaugh, when he came in, when he was hired at the, whatever it was, December 2014, January, I think it was January 2015, the day Jim Harbaugh was hired, all I wanted at that point was to beat Ohio State and to win a Big Ten title. If he delivered on anything else, it would have been house money. But that's all I wanted was a Big Ten title. I wanted to go to Indy because my state friends were rubbing it in my face. Get to Indy, bud. Your program sucks. You're so overrated. Get to fucking Indy. That's all I wanted. And then, you know, all these heartbreaking years happened. Trouble with the snap happened that year. And then JT Barrett was short the next year. And he was fucking short. I don't care what anyone says. And then 2019, they got blown out by Ryan Day. Then the pandemic year happened, and they went 2-4 and ducked Ohio State. And then the Kenneth Walker game happened in 2021, and the fucking 5 touchdowns.
I seen that game.
That was a great game. I thought Michigan State benefited from a lot of calls, but they couldn't stop Kenneth Walker. And I was like, this is never going to happen. But all their goals were in front of them. And next thing I know, they did win the Big Ten. They beat Ohio State that year. And we went to Indy, and I got to go to Indianapolis, and it was so much fun. And I got to go to the Orange Bowl with Bob. Bob's here. They got blown out in the Orange Bowl. I didn't care. It was cool to be there. And then last year happened, and they went undefeated, and they went to Indy again, and they beat Ohio State in Columbus. But they lost to TCU, and I'm like, whatever, this was fun. But that core came back, and then this year happened, and all of the fucking bullshit happened. And they tried to bring Jim down twice.
Yeah, none of that's actually done yet either. So
they try.
What happens?
It doesn't. Nothing's gonna happen.
It's done.
I don't think it's getting pulled.
I personally don't see him going back. But
it's fine. But regardless, like. Michigan had the hardest path in the college football playoff out of all 10 champions that won the college football playoff. Michigan had the hardest final month. They did it without a coach for 3 of them. They had to play the hardest teams. And they did it. Like they actually did it. And they're one of 4 teams all time to be 15-0. 3 of them were college football playoff champions. Their defense is the best defense in the history of college football since the 97 Michigan defense. They gave up 10.2 points a game. They never gave up more than 24 points a game on the year, including in the championship game, including 20 to Alabama. Ohio State got 24 on them. But it was just a special year. And like, It meant so much for, like, there's so many guys that, like, Denard Robinson's getting a ring because he was on the staff. Grant Newsome is the tight ends coach. Grant Newsome's leg almost got amputated. He tore his ACL in a game, and he was one of the best tackles ever. He would have been a first-round tackle, and he was there for it. But this is for all those guys, Steve Breston, Jason Avant, Braylon Edwards, Rashawn Gary, Devin, but like there's a whole list of names, and like there's so many guys, Jordan Lewis, there's so many guys over the years who are like, that's my guy. Like, this is one of my favorite Michigan players ever. A bunch of them are on this team. Like, Michigan's Mount Rushmore, like, J.J. McCarthy's the best quarterback to ever play at Michigan, which is saying a lot. He's on that Mount Rushmore. Blake Corum is the touchdown leader at Michigan. He's on that Mount Rushmore. Mikey Sanderstill is like the ultimate fucking competitor and came in as a wide receiver and was asked to switch to be a DB, and he did it. And he led this defense and was the ultimate fucking leader, and he had a big interception to seal the game. Mikey Sanderstill is always one of my guys, and Chris Jenkins, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, fucking Will Johnson from right here, Grosse Pointe South, is going to be a top 10 pick next year. Will Johnson's one of my guys. Donovan Edwards, like, it was just so cool. Roman Wilson, to see those guys win this title, because they embodied everyone. They embodied what this team is, and it was cool. I was lucky to be there. Everything happens for a reason. I have the story to go along with it. I knew I was meant to be there, and it happened, and we got to go out afterwards, and it was just like, I still can't believe it. And Harbaugh might be gone, but guess what? There's two people that don't owe me shit in my lifetime. The Detroit Red Wings have won 4 cups in my lifetime. I'd love to see another. They don't owe me anything going forward. They owe me nothing if they never win again. Maybe 50, 60 years from now we can re-talk, but a lot of people can never see a cup in their lifetime. I've seen 4. Jim Harbaugh owes me nothing. You owe me nothing, Jim Harbaugh. I want you to go pro and go win the fucking Super Bowl. I want you to do it because you set out and accomplished what you sought to accomplish and more. You gave a national championship was just the icing on the cake, and we weren't owed that, but you did it, and you delivered, and we were patient, you were patient, and there was a payoff, and fucking God bless Michigan football because that was special, and one of my teams finally won, and I just, for one night, even though it was stressful and impossible to get there, like I felt like a little fucking kid. And we all did. Everyone I was with and everyone who was in that building on Monday night felt like a kid. And we have this forever. You say what you want about the Connor Stallions, like whatever. Ever since then, all they did was just beat everybody in front of them. It was Michigan versus everybody. They beat them all. They handed Nick Saban his last ever loss at Alabama. Wow. What a fucking world. And I was lucky to be there.
I'm not going to lie. I've heard my dad that happy in a very long time. He was thrilled. He was thrilled. I thought it was a great game. Obviously, I was happy to see Michigan win. I was not near, I mean, I'm not as diehard of a Michigan fan as most people are from around here. But I was extremely happy to see them win. I thought they played a great game. I thought we saw the top defense in the country. I thought we saw the top run offense in the country. And overall, I think the better team won.
Actually, they ran the ball better than expected. I don't think anybody, because what's his name?
Blake Corum.
The other back, not Corum.
Donovan Edwards.
Edwards has done nothing the past fucking 7 games.
No, all year.
So
he had struggled all year.
Yeah, and he had his biggest game when it's time to have it.
And he's a Detroit kid, so that was key. I was.
Great.
What would have been cool is Donovan Edwards should have been the offensive MVP. He wasn't. They gave it to Blake Corum. But had they had given it to Donovan Edwards, you would have had 2 kids from Detroit as the college football playoff offensive and defensive MVP, and that would have been so cool to me. Will Johnson got it, and then Blake Corum got the offensive. But it was yeah. I mean, like what Michigan did down the stretch this year, including to a good Washington team by all metrics, especially their offense, a team that was rolling. Michigan just fucking shit pumped teams. I don't think they're better than 2019 LSU. To me, that's still the best college football team I've ever seen.
That's we're getting somewhere where you shouldn't go.
No.
They're decent. They're not that good.
Okay, I'll show you all the fucking numbers, and I'll put you in a fucking grave. They're one of the top.
Let's not go to the numbers.
They're one of the. I know because you hate numbers because they prove you
wrong.
wrong.
Not even that I hate numbers, dude. They won a game. They won a game against an opponent. And,
you gonna make excuses?
I'm what?
You gonna make excuses for Michael Penix?
I'm not making any excuses. They lost. Period. They lost. But I'm going to say this: you going and saying that. You know, are they as good as the LSU team?
I said they're not.
They're not.
I said they're not.
They're not good as half of the Alabama teams. They're not as.
I don't think they're as good as Georgia last year.
I
don't think they're as good as Georgia last year. But by all metrics, if we're looking at the metrics and numbers, their defense
can be deceiving.
Their defense is better than any defense in the college football playoff era.
Their defensive line was very good this year. They're better than
their secondary that picked off Michael Penix twice.
I mean.
Their secondary that dismantled Marvin Harrison and beat up on guys all fucking year. Marvin Harrison, one of the best college receivers ever. Like you can't discredit their defense. What's up?
I don't believe that Marvin Harrison's one of the best receivers.
That's fine.
I don't.
That's fine.
A lot better than him.
Michigan gave up 10.2 points per game on the year.
Get that,
That's
dude.
one of the best defenses
I'm gonna be honest
ever.
With you, I thought it was kind of weak. The whole series was weak. That was my opinion.
What series?
The whole championship series that we have seen this year with the playoff, I thought it was weak. I don't think the best teams were in there. And I don't know. They won. They were there at the end. They won it. Great for them. But other than that, I mean, I think the bigger news is basically Nick Saban not going back to fucking Alabama. To me, that's bigger than the fucking playoff.
I don't know.
That's huge.
I live in
Nick
this.
Saban retiring from Alabama.
I
bigger
think
than
that's
Michigan
fucking
winning the
huge,
playoff
dude.
in Detroit.
Just bailing the way he did because he don't like
he's
the
old.
direction of college football, and I don't disagree with him on that. You know, I don't disagree with him, man. I think college football's at a crucial point to where if they don't get some structure, it's going to be a fucking utter clusterfuck coming up the next few years.
Why? You've said that now for the last 2 weeks, but we're going to a 12-team playoff next year. What's
No,
wrong with the no structure?
listen. I'm
No,
all
he's-
for it.
he's
I'm
not
all
wrong.
for the big team playoffs. I'm all for that. But what I'm saying is this: the NIL shit. This
here we
no
fucking
structure
go with
with
this
players
again.
jumping, going wherever they want to go. That shit is really. They need to put some structure on
It's
it.
a
I
billion-dollar
don't-
business, just like everything else. You want to leave and go somewhere else, leave and go somewhere else.
I
You
don't
want to go
have-
somewhere to get paid, go somewhere to get paid.
There needs to be structure in it. It just can't be
While you're-
a
So,
fucking free for all.
I'm with
It
you.
needs structure.
I'm with you. I don't think he's leaving.
What was that?
I said these assholes get paid while they're in school.
I don't think he's leaving because of the college football
Yeah, he is.
landscape.
I do.
I don't
I
because
believe-
they invented all the cheating. They invented paying recruits and giving them
you call it whatever you
Mercedes.
want to call it. There's no structure,
There
and,
isn't.
and it's a free for all.
But he's
and
still
I
at the
don't think-
top. He still went out near the top, and
Yeah,
he's got.
you can't take your best coaches bailing because there's no structure, and I blame the NCAA.
What
for
do you
that.
mean by
They
no
need to
structure?
step in because man, it's a fucking clusterfuck.
But what is? You
got-
just keep saying there's no structure and it's a
There's no
clusterfuck.
structure. You got players fucking bolting for no reasons.
So can I?
And going all over the fucking place.
But if the coach
at
that
multiple years,
If
there
the
needs
coach-
to be some. Go ahead.
If the coach that recruited you could come there for a year and get an NFL job offer and bolt, or if you
Okay.
go to an ACC school and he gets an offer from an SEC or a Big Ten school and bolt, why can you as the player not do the exact same thing to go to a better situation?
I'm going to give you want a scenario right now? Texas A&M had the #1 draft class in the fucking country, not last year, but the year before.
Recruiting class.
Okay? They come in, they lay an egg, they get 17 fucking guys that just bolted.
Beautiful. Good for them.
That's bullshit, dude.
Why is that bullshit?
Because they need to honor the fucking commitment that they made.
See, you live in a world where you want people to have honor, and there's none of that. At the end of the day,
well, that's the fucking problem with this
it's
world.
a
'Cause all you
business.
pussies
it's
don't
a
have
business.
any honor.
No, it's a business. It's a business.
I get that, but you know what? Even the NFL has structure. You gotta have structure.
Then make
you
these
gotta
guys-
have rules.
Then guess what? Then make them sign a contract and pay them a salary.
Exactly.
So I think that's where we're heading.
That's where it needs to go.
I think we're
say
heading-
everybody should be an independent. Get rid of the fucking goddamn SEC. Get rid of the fucking Big Ten. Everybody should be an independent and go from there. And you take your top fucking whatever it is, 12 teams that are left standing at the end of the year and have your playoff. That's how to fucking do it.
So
That's the only way to do it right.
The next step for college football and basketball is they need commissioners.
Yes.
They need
don't have any right
They
now.
need a
It's
commissioner
joke.
and it needs to be regulated because NIL is disgusting.
It's gonna destroy college football. It'll destroy college football and whatever college sports are left.
And
if they continue to let it to go the way it is.
the kids do deserve to be paid. 100% they deserve to be paid and they deserve to make money off them. And I think
I'm going to say this, Mike. And when you're getting a $100,000 scholarship for free room and board, and free everything else, I don't know what more you could fucking really ask for. You want to pay what
$1 million
the donors
to
were
do a
paying
commercial?
all these guys for all these
Because-
fucking years? Go ahead.
because the schools are making money off of these kids and putting it in their pocket, and it's the kids, and the kids get injured and their career's done.
Okay.
These kids,
But they
hold on.
also have a chance to get a fucking education and do something with that. Half these assholes don't even fucking graduate, and guess what? That's on them. Whether they choose to leave or not early, that's on you.
So
dude.
the school can sell, they change the jersey numbers every year, but they take the name off the back. And NCAA football, EA Sports can just say quarterback number 16 from Michigan. And they could put those guys out there knowing that that's Denard Robinson and knowing that I'm going into the end den and buying the 16 Michigan jersey, knowing that's Denard Robinson because no one else wears it. But the school gets the money and Denard doesn't get that money. He's just got to be okay with just the education. No, if the schools are profiting, if
How
the,
much does it cost to go to UFM?
if the schools are, I'll get there. I'll touch in a second,
Go ahead.
but let me finish my point. If the schools are profiting off of one person's likeness.
Or
if
the
it's
logo?
100% the person's likeness,
Or the
number
logo?
16's Denard. How is that fair if the kid never sees a penny of that money? And this is why the NCAA fucking hates Jim Harbaugh, because he's been calling for years. Going back to Stanford, he's like, you guys should fucking unionize. You should be in a union, and you should be getting a cut of this TV revenue.
Absolutely.
And this goes to the schools.
Business.
That's where the money goes to. In pro football, the merchandise money, a quarter of the TV revenue, the gate, the ticket prices, it goes to the players in pro football. It should be the same as for college football, instead of the fucking greedy-ass schools who end up paying coaches $100 million for 10 years and just fire them 2 years in and have to pay these crazy buyouts. Don't you think that buyout money would look a lot better going to the players? To answer your question on Michigan, it's a couple. It depends what you do, but yeah, it's like 60, 70, 80, 100. It's up there. It's a lot of money. And a lot of other schools are like that.
About $60,000 per semester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a college football
4
player's
fucking
life.
semesters, you're talking $500,000.
I think if you're a good college football player, your life is worth more than 50, 60 grand.
And what
That's
about
my
a
opinion.
kid like you just wants to go to school there? And
Good for him.
become something
He
for
got his
himself?
scholarship. Good for him.
Is it fair to you to pay $250,000 a fucking year?
I wasn't.
But this fucking Jamoke is over here, and because he's on the fucking team,
That's a bigger
he gets
picture
free room and
argument.
board,
Guess
free
what?
food, free fucking
Guess
everything. What?
He is that athlete, okay?
Yeah.
That athlete is the reason why Michigan Stadium's full every weekend.
Yeah.
And people are paying thousands of dollars in season tickets to go to the games.
Okay.
And they're selling jerseys, and they're selling
Right.
concessions, and they're making the money. The money that those players are making back for that school is in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
Okay.
End of
Okay?
the day, it's
So
Okay.
guess what?
school.
Guess what? The 60 or 70,000 a year that their education cost is peanuts. All that money.
Well, what about all the kids that go there to actually have to pay?
Okay, so I know what you're
they're
saying.
not bringing anything to the table.
And what's
They're not bringing anything
your,
to the table.
your
No,
question
what's
is?
that supposed
It's
to
a
be?
school.
Hold on,
All you do
hold
is
on,
get
hold
an
on.
education.
He asked the
Go
question.
to school to get an education.
That's
You
it.
don't go there to fucking become a fucking
the school
football player.
The
You're a
school
student.
benefits off of the football players.
Okay.
Period. Right? They
Okay.
want to build the new
They
science
also
wing.
benefit off
If there's no donors, how are they
Joe
paying for
Schmo,
it?
whose
The
mom
$100
and
million
dad
that the
football
football
program.
team makes.
out the ass.
Thank you.
Let them pay for it.
Thank you.
So-
why should the people who are
You have a question, and it's a great question. Is what's the difference between studying Sally and the Jamoke on the football team? What's the difference between the two of them? The Jamoke on the football team was born with God-given talent. It applies to.
That's ridiculous.
That's how it
If he's
works.
that
That's
good, he
fucking
ends up.
why?
I
If
being
think
you're smart,
pros.
if guess what? If you're smart enough to get a 4.4 and you score a perfect score on your ACT and you go to Michigan for free, what's
you
the
don't.
difference?
No, you don't.
You do. You
Yeah,
get,
you do.
You typically do. You typically do. You typically get an academic scholarship. So that's a whole big. What you're saying
not
is a
going
bigger
there.
picture argument, and it's a fair argument. But I think hockey players should be paid more than anybody because those guys are literal fucking warriors wearing blades on their feet, and they get paid less than any player in sports, any position, any major baseball player, basketball players on the bench get paid $30 million to not touch the floor. So it's a whole bigger picture argument. These kids make so much money for the school, and the school fucking profited endless amounts of money on these kids for years. That, yeah, I do believe the kids deserve to get paid a fair amount. It's way bigger than education. A lot of those kids, to answer your question, they're not going to go to school. They're going to play football, and then they're going to take football later on in life and do something with it. That's the opportunity. The opportunity isn't the education. They just happen to play for the school.
If they're that good.
Whatever. That's part of. You know what? That's part of their payment. Is getting an opportunity to get that education.
What are you trying to say?
So what? You're going to pay them on top of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they're generating
All right,
crazy
go
money
ahead.
for the school. Why should
Go ahead. That's why college football's in the fucking disaster it's in right now because of that bullshit.
You know,
it might
Yeah,
be?
it is,
It might
dude.
be in a disaster,
is.
but 30 million people watch that game Monday night.
Yeah.
So I mean, people are still going to watch no matter what.
Yep.
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say is you play for the school, all the money should go to the school. You play for the school. You're not a professional athlete.
yes, you are.
No,
You own a
you're
business?
not.
Yes, you are.
You own a
No,
business?
you're not.
You own a business? You own a business?
No,
No?
I do not.
No? Let me ask you this right now then. You got employees that work for you. Okay?
Okay.
So if the employees unionize and get all to that and they go to get more money, what do you do then?
You negotiate.
You make a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
You make a lot of
You
fucking money.
negotiate.
You negotiate? Is that how it works? That's not how it works.
Yes.
No, it
without
doesn't.
question it is.
It doesn't work that way. Never worked that way that I know of. All these fucking years.
Well, there's a union negotiation here between the big three and the unions every 3 years.
Oh, whatever, dude. Big three. We're gonna go there.
Well, I mean, no, you're asking.
I
that
disagree
question.
with you. I'm going to tell you why.
I'm just saying, dude. I
Schools-
think that
Schools,
these kids not taking in consideration that they're getting free room and board, free
hold
fucking
on,
food.
hold on.
Christ.
What?
Hold on. Schools and hospitals are fucking jokes. There are people who do not do anything that sit at the top of the food chain and profit for not doing a thing. Doctors, nurses, fucking technicians, extremely underpaid people. Meanwhile, your insurance company is ripping you off and won't pay for things if you need a certain surgery. It's the same with schools. Professors who actually teach are completely underpaid. Meanwhile, there's a president at the top and then an endowment with the school that's just profiting over time. Schools shouldn't be crazy fucking profit things. They should take that money that they're ripping kids. I went to college. Did you go to college?
No.
Did you go to college?
Barely.
Did you go to college? No. College was the biggest waste of fucking time in my life. You didn't go to college and you're extremely successful. You didn't go to college and you're extremely successful. Jury's out on you. You could be very successful. I'm working my ass off, and all I had to do was go to a skilled trade college, and I'd be making more money than a lot of people I know. I went to college, though, because I had that narrative forced down my throat, and I overpaid for a fucking crazy education that in the end didn't mean shit, because everything I learned at all the jobs that I've had, I learned on the job, okay? So schools are a joke, and they're a fucking ripoff, and it shouldn't cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to school.
I agree.
It shouldn't. So is the education important and is it an asset? Yeah. But these kids, especially football players, are laying their fucking body down on the line while the conferences and the schools are getting a major fucking cut of money that the kids never see a dime of. And I'm not saying the kids should get all the revenue, but what Jim Harbaugh is saying is you should unionize and go for a cut of that revenue because it's only getting bigger and you're only getting fucked. And that's what's happening. And that's why NIL is where it is. Honestly, it's been pretty bad, but also you have kids going back to school. Denzel Burke would have been a first-round pick. He announced he's going back to Ohio State today. And you have kids going back to school. J.J. McCarthy could come back next year. Michael Penix had a big... Pardon me?
Because they're getting paid.
Well, yeah, that's why. That's a good thing of that. That's the good part of NIL is you have kids who wouldn't normally go pro are coming back now.
See, that's the problem.
Hold on.
What are you going to become, a career student?
Hold on.
No,
Career
it's
fuck-
Do you
4
know?
years.
Do you know how much money the Michigan football program created this year?
No, and I don't give a fuck.
$210 million.
I don't care.
$210 million.
How much do they pay out to the students? How much they pay out to the guys that were playing it?
Nothing. It
Zero.
goes- Nothing.
Zero.
The school doesn't
school
pay
doesn't
that.
pay you.
The school doesn't pay that. NIL is
What did
private.
the NIL pay them?
That's different.
That's
Michigan.
different. If
Michigan.
somebody wants to pay
different?
J.J. McCarthy
What's the
$5
difference?
million, because if
That's private.
If
It's private funding.
If Ann Arbor
Why?
Ford
It's
wants to
donors because that's who's got to pay for it. The schools aren't paying for NIL.
Donors are paying for it.
Some donors have to step up, or you have to have a fund. And Michigan, even though they just won a national
See how
championship,
fucking crooked it is? Don't you guys see it?
well, it should
No.
be regulated. Is
fucking
what you're saying,
crooked.
right? It should be regulated.
It should be regulated. Absolutely.
Either that, or I think you're on our side that the school's getting $210 million and some
Right.
because
$210 million for this year.
and nothing goes to the players.
Where the fuck is the money at?
Goes to the school. That's the point.
School.
That's
Goes to
the
the school
fucking
for what?
point. That's the
for the new
point.
science wing in the library.
school's getting
stop. They don't
$210
do
million.
that shit every fucking year.
Exactly. That's another
It's just
point.
20 years. You'll
That's
see
another point.
something
The
maybe
school's
go
just
up.
pocketing that fucking money.
Yeah, somebody's fucking dirty. Hello? It's all dirty. Anyway, let's move on. I'm tired of this shit.
Thank you. Let's go talk some NFL news. We have a weekend to recap. Where should we start?
Start Saturday night.
Saturday night. Hold on, I'm trying to get my shit up here because I'm a little bit behind now because I was looking up other bullshit here. 1 second. Were there any moments from this weekend that you guys took away as pivotal? Because there were some upsets this weekend.
Wait, hold on. Rephrase the question.
Saturday night, pivotal moment. Pittsburgh needing to win to get into the playoffs in Baltimore. Baltimore had everybody benched. Pittsburgh comes out on top 17-10 to send themselves into the playoffs. I think we all might have picked Pittsburgh. I think we all thought this was
No,
gonna
I think I still pick Baltimore.
He was the only one who picked Baltimore.
I took Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we both took. You and I both took Pittsburgh.
Just because I thought they had more to play for.
And I wanted on record that even though Baltimore didn't fucking play anybody, it was still closer than it should have been.
It was still closer than it should have been.
TJ Watt was hurt.
Right now, as it stands, and we'll talk about this some more, I think Pittsburgh's the weakest team in the playoffs. At 10-7. No TJ Watt. Mason Rudolph is your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Me personally.
They're pretty fucked.
And
I
they
think
go to
they're the weakest
Buffalo.
team in the and they have to go to Buffalo, and it's going to be tundra level shit. And we're going to talk more about tundra level.
You never know. All I'm going to say is you never know, dude. Anything fucking can happen.
Then we had a game with massive implications on Saturday night. Houston headed to Indy to play the Colts. This game ended up being for the division due to the Jacksonville loss on Sunday. Houston comes out on top and wins 23-19, and it came right down to it. Honest to God, I was so happy to see D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud and that young core of guys. I had them winning 4 games this year, and now they're going to the playoffs. So,
Good for them.
I thought it was an awesome game. You know something? Jonathan, you got to give a shout out to Jonathan Taylor here because he tried to put the team on his back as best he could. He was 30 for 188 yards and a touchdown in this game. Nico Collins came straight back at him for Houston. He was 9 for 195 and a touchdown.
He had a great game.
I got news for you. We all kind of agreed this year that AFC South was the biggest shit show division. And that division, I think for the foreseeable future, is going to be a battle every single year going forward.
Going to look a lot different next year than it did this year.
Houston in the playoffs. Next up, we had Cleveland at Cincinnati.
The story here was Jake Browning's girlfriend.
That was everywhere instantly. Jake Browning, 18 for 24, 156 yards and 3 touchdowns. A.J. McCarron had some playing time in there as well. Cincinnati beats Cleveland in a meaningless game for them, 31-14. Jeff Driscoll was at the helm for the Browns. How'd you think he did?
He was dog shit.
Joe Mixon, 14 for 111 and a touchdown. Again, pretty meaningless game for both teams. Now, are we okay? I think that Pittsburgh is the weakest team in there. All right.
Don't say Cleveland.
How do we think Cleveland stacks up? They have to play Houston.
I think
1.
Cleveland wins this weekend.
I do too.
I don't know what you don't see. I think Cleveland's the second best team in the AFC. I don't know what you don't see. I don't know what they have more to prove.
I can't. I just
Listen. They got a good core of veteran guys there, and
They're getting healthy too. They got Grant
getting
Delpit
fucking
back there.
healthy, dude. They're going to be dangerous this week, and Houston's about to see that.
Aren't you supposed
Houston's
to be a
got to be
Stroud
ready
boy?
for that.
So that's the thing. I'm disappointed. Is two of my favorite teams in the playoffs are these two teams. I'm so looking forward to that game Saturday. I hope the Texans pull it off. I don't think they will. I just think Cleveland's got too much going for them.
I like the.
Are you gonna fucking bark today?
No.
Why?
Because it's not there yet. I like the Texans.
bark
I
Friday when
like the
he
Texans.
picks
Back it
Cleveland
up,
over
back it up.
Houston.
Hold on a minute. You said when he got back in town, you were going to bark.
I'll save it till Friday. On
if I'm
Friday,
here.
he barks.
If I'm here.
Yeah, okay.
Where are you going?
Why do you keep putting it off? Why don't you just bark? Give the people
Why don't you
what
shut
they
the fuck
want.
up, dick?
Knock him out on the air. We have a lot of viewers.
I'm going to fire one of these fucking helmets at you.
Let me ask you guys a question. Who do you think would win in a fight between you and him?
Oh,
I'll tell you when.
Hold on.
Why? See, the thing is, I wouldn't even have to throw a punch.
What would you do?
I would just let him throw as many punches as he can because then he would just get tired and fall to the ground.
Okay, so gun to your head, who would win in a fight between the two of you?
I'm thinking myself, man.
Who do you think would win in a fight between the two of you?
Really, dude?
Just say it. I want
got
to
a
watch
better
you
idea.
shiver.
You want me to fight all three of you right
think
now?
his
okay. This is the thing.
You will not walk out of this basement without losing
Now,
a limb.
now there's one option that Bruce would have. There's actually two that he'd have to beat him in a fight. One would be if he dove at the knees and somehow got lower than him and blew the meniscus all the way out. Because the meniscus is almost there. If he took the
Not
knee,
going to happen.
It might. Or 2, if he was able to run in circles enough to actually make him go out. That's the only 2 options. Because if he landed one, if Uncle Sam landed one, Bruce is dropping like a fly. Uncle Sam's fist is like an actual fucking brick. If he connected, he's done. He's dropping. Unconscious. Down.
Leon, where are you at?
Leon, actually,
Shout
you want
out
to
to
talk
Leon.
about somebody who took a punch from Uncle
No, not a
Sam?
punch, a slap.
No, you punched him.
It was a slap.
I thought
it
you punched
deliberate?
him in the...
It was a backhand.
You
Was it
took a
deliberate?
body shot at him and he went down, I thought, one time.
No, it was an actual slap, and it was backhand to the rib cage.
And he went down.
Was it on purpose?
No, he didn't
okay.
go down. He just said it
Hold
hurt
on.
for about a month.
I have small but meaty hands. Look at the size. Hold on, put your hand. You happy that I am not making you say divisional game for every single...
I'm not saying it anymore. I quit.
Minnesota came to Ford Field. Detroit comes out on top of this one, 30-20. Zolo, you were there. Bruce was there. Thoughts on this game?
I have a question for you guys. What do you think of the injury conversation? Can we have it?
Yes, we can. So what?
I can vouch.
I can
for
vouch
Sam.
for Sam. I'm gonna say this much. I was not a huge fan of. The problem is the Lions didn't control their own destiny. If the Lions controlled their own destiny, then I would have said, God bless, play everybody. But they didn't. All right. And the likelihood, if you use logic, the likelihood of Dallas losing to Washington to me was not worth the risk of
You
Sam
know what?
Laporta
That pisses
and
me off
everybody
because
else.
guess what? I actually thought Washington in that first half was in a good position, and then fucking Sam Howell, what the fuck? All them interceptions, what the fuck? God damn it!
I'm with
You
Uncle
fucking
Sam because you don't
forgot
know
how to
that.
fucking play football overnight.
Because the counter to that is what happens if you didn't do it? You don't play the starters, you lose, and then Dallas
Right.
does go on to lose. You know, and then Philly's the other case study. Philly did lose. You needed Philly to lose, and they lost.
Yeah,
you
they
needed,
got their
you needed the
assholes
Niners to
punched.
lose. You needed the Niners to lose, and the Niners
Right.
lost.
They lost too.
So of course, by the way, while we're
Carson Wentz.
here,
Carson fucking Wentz.
had the refs not fucked the Lions over 2 weeks ago, we would be on the bye this week, and you would have the
Correct.
1 seed. So the ripple effects of that are insane. But
No, because Dallas won.
Yeah.
No, but Dallas would have had a loss.
Dallas would have lost.
Correct.
So I disagree. I'm playing the guys, and you know what? Like whatever. You have a shot at it, of course. I think the Lions could be the second best team in the NFC, no worse than third. So of course they have a shot at it. So you don't want guys to get injured long term. And you know what? It was a freak that what happened to Laporta. He still might play.
He's
the good
good.
news is
He'll be
like
fine.
I'm gearing up for next year. Like next year is the year the Lions are going to be all fucking in. And I think that you need to win that 12th game because it gives you a barometer. Like they haven't won 12 games since 91. They've never done it in my lifetime. It gives them a barometer of somewhere to work towards if you don't do it. It gives you you want to establish that dominance. You want to establish the dominance over the division. And on top of that, I thought it was a great game defensively. I thought they played well defensively, which was important. So I'm happy that the defensive starters played. I'm happy we saw Ali McNeil it was one of his best games of the year. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he worked into that rotation nicely. Don't even get me started on Aiden Hutchinson.
PJ, there was only a few guys that sat for the 49ers. Purdy. There was maybe 2 guys. The rest of them all played.
PJ, I'm with you.
The rest of them all played.
I agree with you. The 49ers probably would have played their guys. You still get the 2 seed if the Lions beat the Cowboys.
Debo still played.
Debo
Their
still
top
played.
guys still played.
It was
Kittles
everyone
out
except
there.
for Purdy and McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Purdy and McCaffrey. The only two
Okay,
that
so
didn't
you don't
play.
get the 1 seed, but regardless, if you have the Dallas win, you're playing for a 2 seed and you're playing your starters on Sunday. So that they're just too. The Lions are young. You got to
Then
remember.
the Rams would have played their fucking starters too.
They didn't have any
sitting there.
positioning to lose. I don't think
Yeah.
they had any position to lose. So I don't know if they would have done it.
They didn't give a fuck. So it's what it is. They're coming here this weekend.
Next up, the team that was first in the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars, went to Nissan Stadium in Nashville. With the division on the line, they lost to the Tennessee Titans 28-20, and ultimately their playoff chances went right along with it. Trevor Lawrence had 2 big picks in this game. Ryan Tannehill did exactly what he had to do to win, but ultimately the story here was Derrick Henry, 19 rushes for 153 yards. That's 8 yards per carry and a touchdown. He also had a 70-yard touchdown run in this game. Now, he went after the game, took the microphone, and thanked everybody all the fans for his time in Nashville.
Coaches, the trainers.
Went into the press conference, thanked the kitchen staff,
Everybody.
the janitorial staff, everybody. So I think it is safe to say that we are seeing the grand exit from King Henry. As far as Jacksonville goes, I have a take on
Think
it.
he's retiring, or do
No.
you think he's
He's not retiring.
going somewhere
I
else?
think he's going somewhere else.
Yeah, I think he's going somewhere else.
As far as Jacksonville goes, I don't know how Doug Peterson isn't up for debate on whether or not he should have a job today. Because I'm going to say this, you were projected to finish this year as a 1 or a 2 seed in the AFC, win your division handily. You had 2 rookie quarterbacks in there. One rookie quarterback gets hurt, and you have Gardner Minshew, and you couldn't find a way to will out this division. I am sorry, but Trevor Lawrence's job has to be in question. Doug Peterson's job has to be in question. If you're Jacksonville right now, it's got to be a tumultuous situation. There was no excuse that Jacksonville, with the talent they have on that roster, shouldn't have won that division. I'm sorry. It should have been a runaway. I still stand by that. If you look at this team on paper, the talent level that they went into this year with, they should have ran away with it. And I think it's a disgrace that they didn't.
In a hypothetical where they win 2 more games, they win the division, and they choked
Right.
away a lot of games.
They choked away, a
including
lot
this
of
past
games.
one.
Yep.
So that's that. Like, I think they are the most talented and by far the best team in the division. They're all so young, and they got a long way to go. So I'm looking for them to rebound. If Doug Peterson's as good of a coach as I think he is.
how much of that do you think? I don't think they utilized their players well. I didn't like a lot of their play calling was fucking trash.
That's because you and I are Ridley owners. That's why.
Well, come on, dude. I mean, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure it out.
He still quietly had 10 touchdowns and 1,000 yards this year, and they
Correct.
didn't utilize him at
Correct.
all. So he could have had a lot. Like, he could have did a lot of damage.
There's a lot of guys out there that don't utilize the guys that they have on their team well.
Next up, the New York Jets headed up to Gillette Stadium in New England to play the Patriots. Who did the Jets play?
Patriots.
Come on, give them what they want. Omar's been waiting all day.
Fucker. Patriots.
The Patriots. Amu Bob picks up his 7th win of the year. Jets win this one
Surprised he still has a
17-3.
job.
Big question mark here is, does Bill Belichick still have a job?
Yes. He's not going
Patriots
anywhere.
finished the year 4-13 at the bottom of the AFC East. That's going to be the most interesting one to watch.
The longer this drags, the more I think he stays there.
I agree.
I think they're evaluating. I think they saw all the fallout. I don't buy just like I don't buy, Jim Harbaugh is a good fit. Like he's leaving the mutual. I don't buy we made a decision after the game in London or whatever it was or Germany that we were going to fire him. We made that decision. You don't do that because things change. If Sheila Hamp made a decision on Dan Campbell after she had the press conference in the middle of last year after the 1-6 start, we wouldn't be here. So that's not how it works. I don't think there's any decision. I think there's conversations.
I think teams that go through and they just start firing coach after coach after coach, it
Doesn't
never gets
work.
fixed.
It never gets fixed.
We've been here how long? How long has the Lions been here? We've had how many coaches?
Long time.
How many fucking GMs?
Long time.
How many? You listen to me. I'm going back to the days of Monty Clark. Okay, I don't know if you guys know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I'm telling you to just go from coach to coach to coach. It doesn't fix what's wrong with the team.
Monty Clark was born in 1937. What the fuck are you talking about?
Monty Clark was the coach of the Detroit Lions when I remember watching him.
He's been dead for 20 years.
I know that.
Okay. Bailey Zappi was 12 for 30 for 88 yards and 2 picks. Trevor Seaman was 8 for 20 for 70 yards. Storyline from this game is, as always, Breece Hall, 37 attempts, 178 yards, 5 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Garrett Wilson, in his post-game interview.
Who's Ricky Oxford?
That's Christopher.
Oh,
Garrett Wilson, in his post-game interview, came out and said that, quote-unquote, this was the worst year of his life.
who said that?
Garrett Wilson.
Get my man out of
You
there.
get paid a fucking gazillion dollars to be a quarterback. Shut the fuck up.
Get my
Garrett Wilson.
That's why. Oh, Garrett Wilson. Yeah, he's right.
Get my man out of
He's
there.
right.
Make a phone call. Get him out.
Hey,
Get Sauce Gardner out of
listen,
there.
I want to see what they're capable of, and I think the only reason why Mahmoud Bob ain't fired right now
Mahmoud
is because they're going to actually give the Aaron Rodgers thing a serious look, and that would be the smartest thing they could do right now.
And the update there is they're bringing all of their coordinators back too. I don't know how Nathaniel Hackett still has a job, but
So
I don't know how he's got a job.
So there's
If
another.
I was Aaron Rodgers,
because
I would fire him.
Aaron Rodgers wanted him. So there's another storyline here. Do you know what number Garrett Wilson is?
17.
17.
Okay. He's changing his number
Okay.
to 5. Because you know who else is number 17?
No.
Devontae Adams.
What does that mean?
That means there's a lot of speculation that the Jets are going to make a move to
Make a
trade
run
for
for
How?
Devontae Adams.
How are they going to do that?
And that's why Garrett Wilson already did the number.
They
change, so
they
his
could
numbers there for him.
they could barely sign Dalvin Cook earlier this year because
Right.
of shit like that.
Dalvin Cook's a Raven now.
Yes.
Whatever. I
God, he's gone.
I don't see that happening.
Dalvin Cook might win a fucking Super Bowl.
And end up with a ring. Next up, this was sad. I would like to take a moment of silence for not only Desmond Ritter, not only Taylor Heineke, not only for the Dirty Birds of the ATL, but for my boy, one of the best coaches in NFL history, Arthur Smith.
Oh, God.
As the New Orleans Saints absolutely anally pound the Falcons into submission, 48-17. This game did not come without controversy. We had a coaches meeting at the end of the game where one told the other one to go fuck himself after there was a regulation-ending touchdown scored from the fucking Saints when they were up by 30. It became a thing. Either way, New Orleans 48, Atlanta 17. It cost Arthur Smith his job. We had Desmond Ritter and Logan Woodside, quarterback for the Falcons, in this game. And honestly, I didn't think Ritter had that awful of a fucking game. I didn't.
Why do you continue to say I don't think Ritter had that
Because
bad
I don't
game?
think
Listen,
Ritter had that
listen,
awful of a game.
Desmond Ritter's not a fucking starting quarterback
don't-
in this league.
I'm not ready to write that off yet.
I'm ready.
really not.
I'm
I don't
ready.
think Ritter had that awful.
I
Be
don't
ready
think-
because they're drafting a quarterback. Be
yeah,
ready.
but Desmond Ritter, if he ends up in the right situation, okay.
Sort of like Geno Smith. Is that
Bijan
what you're telling
Robinson
me?
had 28 yards, dude. I mean, come on.
How many carries did he have?
He had 11 carries.
Okay.
Arthur Smith deserved to be fired, all right? He deserved to be fired. You can't have that much talent and shit the fucking bed every year, but I'm still Atlanta will win the NFC South next year. You heard it here first.
Anyway.
Place your bets now. Next up, staying in the NFC South, we had the NFC South champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So who won? Him?
Uncle Sam.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Whoopee.
They went to Carolina to play the Panthers. They kicked 3 field goals, won the game 9-0.
That's just awful.
Atlanta finishes the game 2-15. Tampa Bay now gets to play the Eagles in the playoffs, we're going to talk about a little bit more, but it's just bad. Tampa Bay is bad at football.
There's going to be more coaches gone by the end of this year. And I think you might see one.
I
guy-
don't think
I
Todd
think you
Bowles.
might see one guy gone.
No,
this
he's
week.
not talking about Todd Bowles.
No.
Are you talking about Sirianni?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's possible. It's totally possible.
Yeah. They're going to have, from what I hear, they're going to have a long meeting, Howie Roseman and the fucking owner over there.
Well, let's see if they get past Tampa.
You know,
all right?
I still think if they win, he's the worst case scenario right now is Nick Sirianni win this game against Tampa, because then how do you really get rid of him? I mean, but the way this team is just fucking packed it in. I mean, you win fucking 10 out of your 11 first games, and then you just fucking pack it in. Come on, man. And I know they had a really hard schedule, especially down the stretch, but some of these games that they've dropped, unbelievable. They are not the same team that was there last year. That team last year was dominant on all 3 phases of the game. This team isn't even dominant on one.
Can we get to Philadelphia before we talk about Philadelphia? I mean, Jesus Christ. I know that you have the biggest heart on in the world, but we got to make it there, all right? Let's just make it there. Next up, the Chicago Bears headed up to Lambeau Field in Green Bay to play the Packers, and Green Bay is playoff bound after this one. They win this game 17-9. Chicago fired everybody in the coaching staff today outside of Matt Eberflus, essentially?
They asked Ryan Poles. He responded perfectly to it. Someone pull up the quote, but they go, what's your plan? And he said something on the lines of, Justin showed great progression, but we're in a really good position, so we have to evaluate in the next couple weeks and see what we have. He answered it perfectly. Do you guys think Justin Fields is the quarterback week 1 for the Chicago Bears next year?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't think so anymore.
I'm with you.
I thought he played well toward the end here, but still not enough to beat teams that they should have beat.
This was their first semi-meaningful game since they beat the Lions. And again, the Lions they were at their worst stretch of the season, very injured and bad defensively when they played those 2 games, and they barely beat the Lions twice. This was their first semi-meaningful game.
I think if they would have won this game and really showed the people that they're there.
If he would have showed people that he was there.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's not there.
Ryan Poles also asked if he had spoken to Jim Harbaugh. He said no, he is the coach at Michigan, and he said that Matt Eberflus is the guy. So,
for now.
For what it's worth, it would have happened today. For what it's worth, the guy that's in charge of the Bears now, Kevin Warren, who was the Big Ten commissioner last year, he has a small background with Jim Harbaugh. So if they wanted to make that call, they can. But I would like to dedicate. There needs to be time where we could do the whole coaching carousel.
100%.
If we can get to that today, I would love to. But story for another time.
Next up, the Denver Broncos headed to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. Another meaningless game, but the Raiders come out on top 27-14. This win has the Raiders finishing second in the AFC West at 8-9. Denver 8-9 as well. But obviously, we're going to see a changing of the guard at quarterback in Denver next year. Aiden O'Connell might. The guy hasn't played all that bad. He'll
be the backup next year.
They finished the year 1 game under 500.
He'll be a backup next year.
You don't think they give him a shot?
No.
What about you?
I think they would be very dumb to fire him or to move on from him.
Aiden O'Connell?
Oh, sorry. I thought we were doing Antonio Pierce.
No, I was talking about Aiden O'Connell.
My fault. I was reading a Saban tweet. Listen, I almost never check out of the show. I was just checked out of the show.
That's okay.
Reading a Saban tweet. No, Aiden O'Connell's not going to be the quarterback next year.
Why are you guys so sold? I don't think this team was in the gutter, in the dumpster.
They didn't do it because of Aiden O'Connell, though. That's my opinion.
But I don't think he played that. He didn't play bad.
That's fair.
The defense at the end of this year, the last 5 games, has been outstanding.
So here's my thing. It goes back to the Brad Holmes quote on it's easier to get worse in this league at quarterback than it is to get better. They're going to have a decent draft pick in a really good quarterback draft. Can you imagine Michael Penix there? Can you imagine J.J. McCarthy there? Can you imagine
J.J. McCarthy's not going in the first round.
He probably will.
If he gets drafted, I'll be surprised.
That's fine. He will. Yeah. He will. He's one of the winningest college quarterbacks ever.
No, you need to stop right now, dude.
I don't. I got it.
He's not that good.
15-0 national championship.
He's like Desmond Ritter, bud.
He is.
He's Desmond Ritter all over again.
Look at the throws to Roman Wilson downfield when they let him throw. That's fine.
Desmond Ritter.
You're entitled to your opinion. The scouts disagree with you. That's all that matters. Regardless, there's so many quarterbacks that are going to go in this draft. This is a loaded quarterback draft. Especially if you're going to take on Jim Harbaugh, he's not going to sit with Aiden O'Connell. So it's too important of a position, and I don't think Aiden O'Connell's the guy. It's a good asset for whatever coach that comes in to have Aiden O'Connell, because at least you have something to fall back on. But it's too big of a quarterback draft to do that. And where are their holes elsewhere? They got good receivers. They drafted a tight end high last year. They got an okay offensive line. There's things that they could do to make the Raiders very competitive next year, especially the way things are going with the Chargers and the Broncos and the Chiefs. There's a way the Raiders could easily be a playoff team next year. And I think I jumped ahead because I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry to you two for not paying attention. They would be very dumb to move on from Antonio Pierce. They would be so stupid. Even if Jim Harbaugh says, I'll come there right now for $1 million a year. When you have a locker room that rallied around a coach and played because of a coach, and everyone loves him, and that coach is already getting other head coaching interviews and coordinator interviews, why would you move on from that? What will you be thinking if you move on from that? Don't move on from Antonio Pierce. They're gonna do it. He's gonna move on from Antonio Pierce.
They
Don't do
need
that.
to sit and actually interview more than one guy.
Of course.
Every team needs to interview at least 5 or 6 guys.
Every team should go through the process. If the Lions didn't go through the process, you wouldn't have had Dan Campbell. I don't know if you guys know that.
No.
PJ in the chat. The Jets should draft J.J. McCarthy and have him sit behind Aaron Rodgers.
There you go.
How do you feel about that fit?
Yeah, I mean that'd be a great fit.
Next up. One of the greatest debacles ever on turf. The Philadelphia Eagles headed to MetLife Stadium to play the New York Giants. Giants finished the year 6-11 after a huge win here. They win this game 27-10. It got so ugly that Jalen Hurts came out of the game. Marcus Mariota finished it off.
Actually, he hurt his finger.
He played again after he hurt the finger, and then Sirianni finally pulled
That
the hook.
finger's awful. I don't know if you guys seen it.
I saw
on
it's
his
all
throwing
fucked
hand.
up. It's all
It's the fucking tendon snapped in it, and the bone is sticking out the middle of his middle finger.
Jesus.
Like this.
I actually did not see that.
Tyrod Taylor had a 300-yard passing day, and the Giants won.
Yep.
Does anybody have even the slightest explanation for what's going on in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I do.
I think the coach has lost his.
I got an easy one, Matt Patricia.
No, you know what? I'm not going to put all the blame on him because the offensive coordinator's just as dog shitty as he is.
Tyrod Taylor had a 300-yard passing game with Wendell Robinson and Darius Slayton.
Yeah.
The defense, you're allowed 27 points to the Giants.
Yeah.
This is a Giants house. Who said that? I'm going to my friend's house to watch the Chargers. That's the quote before.
That wasn't. Was it Vito?
No, it's Bobby Bacala.
Anyways.
I agree with the last little comment there. The Eagles players hate Sirianni.
Who the fuck is Rami Taha?
I have no idea. Welcome, Rami. Welcome to the
Rami,
show.
we're glad to have you.
We're so glad to have you. I mean, it can't just be as simple as that. The players don't like Sirianni.
I truly think with some of the decisions that he's made, especially on defense, especially with bringing Matt Patricia
You think
in
he
there,
just got too big for his fucking britches too fast?
knowing that one of your all-pro corners hates this fucking guy, and you're going to bring him in there to run your defense for you after you fire a defense coordinator, 2 weeks before the season's over? What the fuck are you doing, dude? What the fuck are you doing? You know, they seriously need to sit down, take a look at what they're doing. This guy is taking a talented team that won fucking 10 games on talent alone this year. They're nowhere near what they were last year.
When can we start to ask
Fucking a
questions?
joke, dude.
When can we start to question whether or not Jalen Hurts is really as good as we thought he was?
Jalen Hurts is not the.
Well, he's
Jalen
banged
Hurts is
up.
not the problem.
He's banged up. I actually do think Jalen Hurts is really good. The numbers don't say that this year. I mean, that most of his yards come on the tush push, and most of his touchdowns come on that. I don't discredit that. I actually do think Jalen Hurts is really good, but right now the whole franchise needs direction. This happened a couple years ago when they won in 2018, whenever that was. They followed it up with a stinker the next year when they should have been in really good position to do good things, and it's happening right now. I think it's an organizational.
Remember, they had moved on from Carson Wentz. They tried to go with Nick Foles.
No, Carson Wentz was back. I thought he was back the next year.
Yeah, but he wasn't the same guy.
You know what happened to them is they lost Frank Reich. He left. Sirianni went with Frank
They started
Reich.
losing their coaching staff, and I think that this is something that you see that's happening to a lot of teams. Philadelphia, you're seeing it now. They turned over their whole coaching staff from last year. They're gone. They had to turn over their whole staff. Obviously, whatever they were doing the year prior is not clicking anymore. So that's coaching. And I think the coaching thing is huge. I think this is when you got players that are starting to not show anymore. And that's what's happened the last 6-7 weeks in Philly.
What's going on with AJ Brown? Is it bad or I know he left the game.
It didn't look good. That actually looked more
because I haven't heard anything.
serious than the Laporta one.
Questionable at this point.
To the bigger picture Sirianni conversation, they will if they look bad Sunday. I think, are they Sunday? They're Sunday. They're the early game
If
Sunday.
they lose to Tampa, I think he might be gone.
Losing's one thing because I actually think Tampa, even though they've been dog shit the last 2 weeks, I think Tampa has a shot to beat them. It's not a lock that Philly wins, but I think
I don't think it is either.
I think if they look poor, if it's a poor showing and his players look like he gave up on him, the conversation's gonna happen, and it's got to happen. So,
Well, Jeffrey Lurie's not going to play games either. He wouldn't be the first coach. He told him that he's fired. That's for sure.
I mean, they moved on from Doug Peterson out of
Yeah.
nowhere, and Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl for them. So,
Yep.
Next up, the Arizona Cardinals headed up to Seattle to play the Seahawks. This might have been one of the reasons why Pete Carroll ultimately lost his job today. Seattle finishes the year 9-8, just missing the playoffs, and they're able to beat Arizona 21-20. We think Geno Smith will be the QB there next year,
no.
No.
and obviously they're going to have a new
No,
head coach.
especially if they're going to have a new coach.
So you haven't seen it yet, but he went on a rant in his press conference just now. It's not a rant, but he's like, "This is a league about the players." It was really good. It was really cool. He's like, "Fuck
Who,
an
the
asshole."
scumbag?
The scumbag, yeah. It was a really fucking cool thing to say, and he got emotional at the end, which you don't see out of Pete Carroll. And I genuinely, supposedly, what it came down to is he was coming back, and they asked him to do something. They asked him to do something, and he said no. And then they mutually agreed to part ways. And he's staying with the organization, obviously. But the theory is what they were asked to do was, we want you to try and move on from Geno Smith. We don't see him in the picture. So I think organization, and it's Paul Allen's wife is the one that runs the team. John Schneider's still the GM. There's always been this theory that she's eventually going to sell to Bezos too. I don't fucking know when that's going to happen, but no, they should go after a quarterback. Again, it's the same principle as the Raiders. Go get a quarterback. This is a loaded quarterback draft. You have nothing to lose. Go take a flyer on a quarterback. Be safe on it. So no, I don't think Geno Smith's going to be there next year.
Arizona finishes the year 4-13 at the bottom of the NFC West. Uncle Sam, where do you think Arizona finishes next year?
Where they pick a 2?
They're picking it 2.
No, I think they're picking 4. I think that win
Hold
at
on.
Philly.
Yeah.
I think the win at Philly fucked them. They're going to lose Marvin Harrison because they beat the Eagles. They're picking 4. It's Chicago,
4.
Chicago via Carolina. Then I think it's New England too. Washington, then New England,
Then New England, then
Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah,
I think it looks good. I think it looks pretty bright for them.
I think they could easily be a wild card team next
I
year.
think they have a very good coach, even though he only won a few games this year. I mean, they didn't get Murray back to what week?
8, 9, 10, somewhere in there.
Later than
was-
that, no?
No, it was like I
been
think it was
around.
week 10. Week 9
I
or
thought
10.
it was later.
Yeah.
But you know what? They got a nice core there. I really like their coach. I really like that Jonathan Gannon guy, man. He was
I do
fucking
too.
funny this year.
I do too.
Those guys played for him.
His
too.
players played for him. They played hard for him. They rarely got blown out with a really
Correct.
talented, depleted roster. I think they got some assets on defense with a really good coach. Trey McBride's a name to watch next year. They need Blake Corum and a receiver, and they're ready to go.
And Arizona owns Houston's pick as well.
It's a later pick
So they
now,
have
though.
2 picks
It's like a
Yeah,
20,
right now it's projected at 21.
21.
So they're picking at 4 and 21. You could turn your whole fucking ball game over.
You know who they
Your
are?
whole team over.
They're the Lions last year.
Yeah.
They got 2 high picks, and they could make some noise.
Chicago too.
Do we think Seattle's in a full rebuild this time next year?
No,
Yes.
no, they need
No.
a quarterback.
Well, I
They
mean,
have 3 receivers. They have 2 running backs. They have a decent offensive line. They have a great secondary. They got linebackers. No, I think they need a quarterback. That's going to be a crazy fun division next year if the Rams' trajectory continues, if the
I
Niners
think
hold
about it,
serve.
everybody thought that the Charger job was going to be like the dream job, like the best job in the NFL. I don't think so. I think Seattle would.
Shout out to Chris's friend.
No.
Amen. Go
I
God.
think Seattle would be a great job to walk into.
I still think I'd rather be the Charger. I'd rather have the Chargers job than Seattle.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Chargers got cap hell.
The Chargers, you get
Seattle doesn't.
a quarterback out of it.
Correct.
I think Justin Herbert's a good quarterback, so I think you get that. But they're two good football cultures. Chargers might have a quarterback, but they got bad ownership. The Seahawks have decent ownership, but they don't have a quarterback. You know, there's pros and cons for each. There's a good football culture in Seattle. There's a great football culture in Seattle. I mean, I saw it firsthand Monday. The Washington people, they love their team. They love the Seahawks. And the Chargers don't they have a decent football culture, but it's not as good as what you're getting in Seattle. It's more stable in Seattle, it feels like, right?
100%. Over LA. I mean, LA can pretend to be a sports town all they want. At the end of the day, they're not a sports
No, I think it's a sports town. The Chargers aren't a part of that sports town, though.
I guess.
The Chargers aren't in that conversation.
Even the
San
Rams.
Diego.
The Rams
They're in the
aren't-
wrong fucking city.
The Rams aren't in that conversation either.
You know, I heard a rumor about the Chargers moving to Toronto.
That'd be fucking awesome. I'd be a Charger fan.
That'd be wild. And that makes a lot of sense to me. Get them out of there. Move them on up.
Once again, Uncle Sam will tell you there's going to be teams outside the fucking country here within the next few years.
Toronto's not actually like outside of the country.
Toronto's
Outside
close.
the country, dude.
Toronto's
It's in
closer to you
Canada.
than Chicago.
It's in fucking Canada.
Do you know that?
Yes, but there's an NBA team in Toronto. There's an MLB team in Toronto.
Okay.
Toronto doesn't feel like international. Like
There will be a
Berlin.
team. There will be a team in Europe within the next few years.
Next up, the Kansas City Chiefs went to SoFi Stadium to play, funny enough, the Chargers. Kansas City comes out on top of this one, 13-12. There was no Mahomes. Blaine Gabbert led the way for the Chiefs to win this game by 1 point.
By the way, there's nothing creepier than I've ever seen than Pat Mahomes running down the sidelines like this. I don't know what it is. It's just creepy. Sorry.
The Easton Stick era officially comes to an end for Los Angeles as the Chargers finish the year 5-12 at the bottom of the AFC West. Chiefs 11-6, obviously in the playoffs.
There's not much to talk about here.
I'm still not sold on the Chiefs. That's a Friday
Oh,
talk.
certainly. Yeah, we'll get there Friday.
That's a Friday talk.
Certainly.
Next up, this game had some playoff implications. The Rams headed to San Francisco to play the 49ers. And also a 1-point win here. The Rams win this one at 21-20 to finish the year 10-7 and second in the NFC West. San Francisco finishes 12-5 and in first place. Obviously, first round bye for San Francisco. The Rams finish in sixth, and we will see them here this weekend. It was a Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold showdown.
It was entertaining.
You
I was
enjoyed
entertained
that,
by
eh?
it.
You
I was
enjoyed
entertained by it. I was entertained by watching Carson Wentz run the football.
that. 17 rushes for 56 yards.
That had me like, what the fuck? It was very, very interesting. It was entertaining.
We got to give a quick shout out to Christopher Venditti while we're here. Rami is his friend from Philly, and Rami said, "Hey guys, great show. Chris's friend from Philly. He puts tip ball stuff around NYC and wore a tip ball shirt to a meeting with some Israeli generals. Was funny as heck."
Shout out to Rocky Oxford then for repping the brand all over New York City.
Christopher, you've always been one of my favorite people.
New York's a shithole.
I'm sure Christopher, of all people, would probably agree with you that New York is a shithole. But anyways, moving on. The Dallas Cowboys headed to Washington to play the Commanders. Dallas needed to win this game to hold on to the number 2 seed and win their division. Dallas finishes 12-5, first in the NFC East, division title for them. Finished, and now they're the 2 seed in the NFC. Washington 4-13, bottom of the NFC East. Ron Rivera gone. Nobody's surprised.
How's
then,
Eric
right?
Bieniemy still there? Everybody else got fired, but Eric Bieniemy.
He'll land.
Somebody answer that.
He'll land somewhere good. There'll be a good spot
Who?
for
Somebody
Bieniemy.
answer
Riverboat
that for
Ron?
me?
No, Bieniemy. I think
Bieniemy's still there. He didn't get fired.
Well, he's outside of that. They brought him in separately, so it makes sense. What I don't understand is why they never gave him a shot to coach the team.
Do you think they will now?
Honestly, no, because there's a reason Bieniemy was a top candidate for the last 3 years and didn't get any jobs. There's a reason for that. So no, I don't. Maybe another team might interview him, but if Washington wanted to make him the coach, they would have gave him a shot to run the team the last couple weeks to see what they had, and they didn't do that, which is bizarre.
Never thought of it from that perspective, but that is a good one. Anyways, Dallas wins this game 38-10.
Dark Lumen is in the chat.
Dark Lumen.
He said he handed out tip balls shirts to a drag show. You are from San Francisco, Lumen, so you probably take it in the ass.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that. You had me going there.
Dak Prescott,
The
31
only
for
person I know
36,
that goes drag shows is my brother. Anyway, go ahead.
279 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick in this game.
Shout out to Tony.
Do we care to talk about this anymore?
No.
Okay. Moving on to the last game of the week. The Buffalo Bills headed down to Miami to play the Dolphins. This game was for the division title. It had the weight of the world on its shoulders. Obviously, Miami was, Miami's pretty decimated with injury right now. It's actually sad to see. Miami ultimately loses this game to Buffalo 21-14. Buffalo wins the AFC East, and they take the, I believe, 2 seed.
Can you believe that? We didn't even have them making the playoffs.
We had
6
them
weeks
out.
ago.
We had them fucking out.
Yeah.
Buffalo makes the playoffs as the 2 seed. Miami falls to a wild card team and is the 6 seed now, underneath Cleveland, but above Pittsburgh. And Buffalo, it took 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns to win this game. I fell asleep at the half. It was 14-7. I thought Miami would win it. And evidently they couldn't. They got away from the run game. And Josh Allen turned it on. Won this game for them. What do we think the trajectory is for both of these teams going to the playoffs?
Josh Allen did everything he could to give that game away.
I still don't think the Bills are
was
that
fucking
great.
awful.
I did. There was a part of me that thought the Bills were good at the beginning of December, and then they just took some shits. I kind of think that if the Dolphins were just half as banged up, that they probably win this one.
If they had Mostert or Waddle,
I
they're
think if
probably
they have
winning
Waddle,
this
they're
game.
winning this.
I
one,
know.
Yeah. And conversely, I mean, the Steelers suck.
Defensively, they're decimated right
The
now.
Steelers suck, so the Bills are probably going to win. But I think the Dolphins, regardless, are still going to have a decent shot against Kansas City.
So there's the only chink in that armor that I see is right now I like team for team. I like Miami going into Arrowhead and winning. I think Miami is better than the Chiefs, especially if they can get one of those two back. If they can get Waddle or Mostert back, I think they have a good chance to win that game. The problem is it is going to be the 3rd coldest NFL game ever. The projected weather for Kansas City is 0 degrees with a wind chill of -29.
Should be a fun game.
That is not ideal for Miami and Tua.
I disagree because they run the ball well.
Yeah.
If you have Mostert back,
No,
that helps.
I still disagree. Achan's been pretty fucking good as he's gotten healthier.
Oh.
He wasn't the problem on Sunday night. The
No.
running game wasn't the problem.
They just didn't do it enough.
Waddle would be key. Waddle would be key. And then you have to hope that you have enough, and I think they do still, personally, but you have to hope you have enough assets defensively to stop whatever it is Mahomes is going to
That's the biggest thing.
Their secondary is intact.
Their secondary is intact.
Secondary is intact.
I thought they played well last week. They had Diggs under cover there. They were not fucking around.
No, they weren't.
They could
It
beat
just
a lot
fell
of
apart
guys.
right at the fucking end for them, man.
Yeah, it did.
And I really thought they were going to pull that one out. That was week 18. And you know what we don't have to do is a playoff machine because the playoffs are set now.
Can we do coaches now? Can we talk about coaches now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
I mean, where do you guys want to start? I think we just go through the teams. We see if there's a fit, and then we can go through candidates, see if there's a fit. But does someone want to pick a team?
All right, let's start with Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who could we see ending up there? And does Ron Rivera get another job, or is at the end of the line?
I'm
I
happy.
think he's done.
I think Ron Rivera's done as a head coach. He's older. He's been sick. I think maybe I could see him as a front office guy. I think Ron Rivera's done as a head coach. And he is a decent head coach, but they fell off the last couple of years, and that's on him. I think the last 2 years are on Ron Rivera.
So, as a replacement for Ron Rivera,
You want a hot take?
the Saban thing is already fucking swirling.
You want a hot take?
Sure.
That's the best open job.
Why?
Good ownership, really good, aggressive, like Mark Cuban style. We're gonna be hands-on when we need to be, but we're gonna be good. There's good assets. I think there's pieces on their defense. I certainly think there's pieces on their offense outside of quarterback. They have the number 2 pick or the number 3 pick.
I think 3. No,
No,
2.
two.
New England.
There's your quarterback. There's Drake May. There's Caleb Williams. There's Michael Penix. It's not gonna be Michael Penix. Jaden Daniels. There's someone. Marvin Harrison. You want to throw him in the mix? I think this is a
I
great
think they have
job.
a good receiving core that's there.
And you want
Need a quarterback.
they have a great receiving core.
Yeah.
You want to know a second hot take? All the names we've heard, or all the places we've heard for Jim Harbaugh, I think that's the best fit for Jim Harbaugh, is the Washington Commanders. Same state as his brother. He can go get a quarterback. There's a lot to work with there, and again, it's all new. He can work in tandem with that ownership. I think that's a great spot for Jim Harbaugh if he does end up deciding to go pro.
I'm gonna roll through all of this stuff here. Okay, does Pete Carroll stay there to be whatever he's gonna be?
He's
And
old.
He's done coaching.
He's old, so he's not gonna reinvent the wheel, right? Am I off there?
I don't think. I think he's done. He's 72.
And he's accomplished everything a coach can accomplish.
And if you remember, what's his name? Coughlin? When he was
got
basically
forced out.
ran out of
Forced
fucking
out.
New York.
Yeah.
He became an advisor. And I think that's what you'll see.
He went back to Jacksonville.
Yeah,
Coughlin.
he went back to Jacksonville and became an advisor. So
I think Pete Carroll's done.
Okay, now who's a good fit for Seattle?
Seattle's got a couple good fits. There's two. There's one that's already talked about like crazy.
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. He makes a lot of sense. The other one that I think makes tons of sense, and whose name I have, it's like I'm just starting to hear it right now. His quarterback's coach, he started as a strength coach, but his quarterback's coach for years, and who followed him from USC is this guy named Dave Canales. And Dave Canales is now the offensive coordinator in Tampa. And the reason for the Baker turnaround and the reason that their offense looked decent this year, wouldn't be shocked if, at a minimum, if Dave Canales they take a flyer on him as a coordinator, as the offensive coordinator. Wouldn't be shocked if Dave Canales gets a shot at the head coaching job in Seattle. But Dan Quinn makes a ton of sense. Dan Quinn makes
Legion of Doom, dude.
Yeah.
Titans have requested to interview Aaron Glenn.
Not a fit. But good for them. That's Aaron Glenn's more than worthy of jobbing.
And Ben Johnson.
Seattle has asked to interview Dan Quinn.
So it's Panthers have the Ben Johnson is Commanders, Chargers, Panthers right now as it stands, and then Aaron Glenn is Commanders, Chargers, Titans. So they each have 3 lined up.
Actually, Pierce has got some interviews, I think.
I think Pierce is the Titans. The Titans went after Pierce.
Yeah.
The Jaguars requested to interview Panthers defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero.
All of the feedback on
Panthers put a block on it. They said they're interviewing for their
that
head
makes
coach.
sense. That makes sense. All of the feedback on that guy is if it's not this year, he's going to be a head coach eventually. And what they get? They only got 1 win with him, but his play they looked significantly better down the stretch than they did at the beginning of the year. So I do think that he ultimately gets a job. I don't think it's going to be in this cycle. Maybe he stays in Carolina and he becomes an asset for whichever coach comes in.
This is an interesting one. The Chargers have asked to the Chargers are interviewing Leslie Frazier, former Bills defensive coordinator. That's if the New England.
He's had his time in the league. I don't think that's going to go anywhere.
So out of the 7 teams, right? Who's a good fit for Tennessee?
Mike Vrabel.
I mean, I think they had
not
the
going
guy.
to be there, obviously.
I think they had the guy.
I truly think that you might see Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn there.
Well, let's rank the jobs.
Okay,
start
so we have Seattle, Washington, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Titans.
You guys probably think the Chargers are the best job. We want to put them at the top? Or
No, I don't think the Chargers is the best.
What's the
job.
best job?
I think Las Vegas is the best job.
What do you think the best job is?
Me?
Yeah.
I keep looking at this Vegas job, dude. I think
Okay, done. Number
I like that job, and I think Seattle, dude.
Okay, number 1's
I think
Vegas.
Seattle and
I
the
might be
Raiders,
with you.
dude.
I might be with you on Seattle. In fact, Seattle might be the best job, to be honest
Think about it, dude. You go to Seattle, you got a seasoned core of receivers there now. You got Njigba being his 2nd year. All you need is a fucking quarterback, dude.
Can I? So we're going
Vegas 1.
Seattle 2, right?
We'll do Seattle
We'll
2.
say Seattle 2. I'm gonna take a flyer on 3.
You're going to say the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm going to say the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm with you.
I mean, you've got the talent there. They just need somebody.
They
to
just
utilize.
they need a quarterback.
I'm going to say then I'd go Chargers 4.
I'm with you guys as not being...
The Chargers are in cap purgatory.
Exactly. We
with
talked
all
about
the
this.
fucking money they got.
They need a
now.
GM.
The Chargers have to tear it all the way down.
We
and
talked
then come all
about
the
this
way
when
back.
they fired Telesco
Yeah.
and when they fired Staley. Is the Chargers they're in cap hell. It's probably a full rebuild.
But if you can get a 3 or 4, if you can get ownership to commit to you for 4 years, and you can tear it all the way down and build it all the way back up, you're good. So what were we at, 5 now?
New
So
England.
we're between. Well, New England's not open yet. We're between Tennessee, the Panthers, and the Commanders.
Washington's probably 5.
I would put Washington 5 as well. I would put the Panthers 6 strictly for Bryce Young,
No,
and
I'd
I would
put
put Tennessee at the bottom.
I put the Panthers last because I disagree on the Titans. The Titans also have they have assets.
Yeah, but they're going to lose a lot of
They're going to
poor
lose
guys.
Henry. Is
That's it.
Hopkins going to stay?
Hopkins will stay. Spears looked good. They have assets on defense. They should have never fired Vrabel.
but
I do not understand
If you're
that.
talking about all these assets,
Vrabel let 2 of his defensive guys go prior to him getting fired. So who knows? They might actually go with him wherever he's headed.
Well, I mean, he can reunite with Arthur Smith too. He could bring Arthur Smith with him wherever he goes.
Yeah.
That could be a package deal.
so okay, now out of all those teams that we listed, do any of the guys who got fired today make sense going to any of those other teams?
So where's Vrabel's fit out of these 7? You can't say New England because it's not open, and I honestly I don't think it's going to be open.
I was going to say Seattle as well.
I think Vrabel to Seattle sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He's another Pete Carroll. He's a guy that players fucking love to play for, and he should have never been fired.
I agree.
So I think Vrabel to Seattle sounds outstanding.
I think Antonio Pierce to the Raiders. I mean, that just
I'm going to be honest with you. If they don't re-sign him, they're stupid.
Bowl
They have
cut.
to really take a serious.
Bowl
Unless
cut
they're
needs
going to
to
get a
fucking
guy like
stand.
Harbaugh.
I'm still
Sign
taking
Antonio
I'm
Pierce.
still taking Antonio Pierce over Jim Harbaugh. That's just
I
my
agree.
opinion. All
Right now, I agree.
things considered. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is going to be some big savior for that franchise. Maybe another one, but not for that one. You have someone that your players love. Go
What
give
about
him
Harbaugh to the Colts?
No, they're not.
Oh.
No, that guy could be coach of the year.
You have to stick with Steichen forever.
That guy's coach of the year. No way.
Okay.
That guy's literally it's him and D'Amico Ryans are the 2 best coaches.
If we break this down, all right, realistically, I think that I agree with what you said about the Commanders, but I think there's only 2 places Harbaugh's going to go. Leave Michigan for Chicago or the Chargers.
The Raiders.
The Chargers.
No, the chart ultimately
Ultimately, it's
the chart. I don't see it as a great job. Ultimately, if he ends up somewhere, it's going to be the Chargers or
He
the Raiders.
started his coaching career in San Diego. It'd be a full circle fucking moment.
San Diego.
Yeah.
University of San Diego.
Yeah.
Okay. They were the
He had
San
connections.
Diego
He has
Chargers.
connections
You know
to
what
the
I'm
team.
saying?
He has connections
Like,
to the team.
That's the one that makes sense. I don't think it's going to happen still. I don't think Arthur Smith's getting a head coaching job, correct?
Agreed.
I think we can all agree there. I don't think Ron Rivera is going to end up anywhere else. So out of the coaches that were disposed of today, realistically, the only one who's going to get another job is Mike Vrabel, and ultimately we think the Raiders are going to retain Antonio Pierce.
Harbaugh would look good in Atlanta too.
Yeah, but I don't think it would happen.
It all depends
he's-
on where Antonio Pierce wants to be, too. I mean, this guy has options.
If you're
He's got
Antonio
three
Pierce
teams
wants
that
to be the
wanna
coach of the
interview.
Raiders.
If
Antonio
you're
Pierce wants to be the
Pierce-
Raiders.
If you're Antonio Pierce and you leave Las Vegas to go coach Tennessee, you need to have your fucking head examined.
Why?
Because why, situation for situation, why would you want to go deal with the Will Levis fucking dumpster fire
Yeah.
instead of just stay at the Raiders where you do have.
I mean, I would, if you were him, what's the other job you would take over the Raider job? If you're him,
nothing.
Antonio Pierce?
yes.
No, that's you're already there. Your family's there. You know the team. You know the culture. You know everything. You want that job and you deserve that job.
But is Mark Davis smart enough to fucking allow that? What are you looking at?
No.
Angie asked
No.
what your Asian arm tattoo says.
It says, "Love you long time."
Are you serious?
In Chinese?
Anyway, where was I?
You were talking about where Antonio Pierce would want to go besides the Raiders.
Where else would if you were a guy and you're looking to be a head coach, does any of those other jobs sound good to you?
No. If you're Antonio Pierce, no.
No, they might some out of those other jobs. Yeah, I don't think the Raiders job is as sexy as you guys do.
Job.
It's not bad.
It's
not bad.
Good, dude.
The only downside of Carolina is that they don't have the draft pick this year.
Right.
That's pretty detrimental.
The only thing going there is this. You got a decent receiving core there. You got a nice little blend of rookies and veterans that could really help you out. The only thing I don't like about that, their running game is kind of shitty. I mean, Chuba Hubbard had an okay year down the stretch here, but Miles Sanders, you spent a lot of money on a guy that didn't even fucking play. So I don't know. That's obviously why you got a new coach there.
I'm making the list right now. I got a great list going.
You do, eh?
Yeah.
Definitive list?
Yeah, it's more personal, but it's good. It's a good list.
Okay, hold on. Do we think Nick Saban ends up as an NFL head coach?
Maybe.
I see him retiring.
And if he does, where would we see him go?
I'm fairly certain he owns the Mercedes dealership in Nashville. Just fact check me on that.
Fuck you. You gonna tell me that's why they got rid of Vrabel?
No. I think it's a coincidence. It's Google. Oh no, is it Charlotte?
It's Ferrari of Nashville.
He owns Ferrari of Nashville.
Ooh.
Nick Saban, the Tennessee Titans.
Nick Saban owns Ferrari of the Music City. Excuse me. Wow, that could be hot.
These pro teams have to make a phone call on.
His wife owns Mercedes-Benz of Envious Lane.
Where's Envious Lane?
Nashville.
Yeah, okay, I knew that. Okay, I told you. Nick Saban owns the Nashville dealership.
So he owns the Ferrari dealership and his wife owns a Mercedes dealer.
Interesting.
Nicely done for Nick Saban.
Interesting. Funny he was embezzling from fucking Alabama. Go ahead.
That'll be interesting too. Now, wouldn't it be something if hypothetically the Patriots job did open up and Saban took the Patriots job and Belichick went and coached in Alabama?
That's interesting.
Isn't that cute? Isn't that real fucking cute?
What was Belichick's old man? Where did he coach? Navy.
And that's where
something
that's where Saban
the NFL goes back to college football.
I think that's where Saban met Belichick because Saban goes back to Belichick's dad.
Right.
Nick Saban worked for him, and that's how they knew each other.
Wouldn't it be weird if one of them go to Navy and take over that program?
Oh, John Gruden versus the NFL started today as well.
John Gruden is going to be part of the coaching staff at New Orleans.
That rumor is flying around.
And
yes.
I
Saints?
believe he takes over that job after the one who gets fired next year.
You do, eh?
Yep.
Dennis Allen, you think
Dennis Allen gets fired next year, John Gruden takes over.
My list
John Gruden was fired wrongly to begin with, so
let's hear Zolo's list and then we'll finish up for the day.
Okay. Vegas is the easy one. I'm getting this out of the way right now. I'm going with Antonio Pierce for the Las Vegas Raiders for obvious reasons. Done. Number 2, Seattle. I'm also with you guys. I think Vrabel to Seattle makes tons of sense.
I think that's a perfect fit.
It's a perfect fit. He's taking over for. I mean, you can make the case Vrabel is Carroll 2.0. The players fucking love playing for him. They play hard for him. He's inheriting a good defense, and I think he can make the most of whatever's going on with that quarterback situation. That's just a great spot. I would love to see Vrabel to the Seahawks.
I think they draft a quarterback.
Yeah, they should.
Or they go out in free agency and grab some.
And they should.
What if they sign Ross back?
I don't know. That might be sour, but that's getting thrown around. Number 3, the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Atlanta Falcons make a lot of sense for Ben Johnson because they have the pieces. They have the pieces to run the offense that he's trying to run.
Running backs. He doesn't use his running backs.
Ben Johnson?
Yes.
Brother.
He likes to play fucking games down the field.
Brother.
You don't run the ball no more.
Brother, they had 2,000-yard rushers that combined for 20 TDs. He does like to use his running backs.
No, he doesn't use them enough.
That's fine. He's got running backs there that he could use. It's the similar. The assets are there. And then just go get your quarterback for Ben Johnson. For the Chargers, this is an interesting name we haven't talked about. One of the reasons C.J. Stroud was as good as he is this year is because of his offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, who's been linked to a lot of jobs this year, or linked to a lot of jobs in the past. I think he would fit in.
Yep.
I think he'd fit in pretty good.
Who was that?
Bobby Slowick, the Texans offensive coordinator for the Chargers.
Okay.
The Commanders, I'm sticking with. I think that's a good spot for Harbaugh. I think they have a high draft pick. They need a GM. They could do personnel control, or he could do personnel control there. It's an owner that he could work with and get along with. Not too many egos in the room. I think Harbaugh makes sense to the Commanders. And of course, the connection to his brother also being in Maryland. The Titans are interesting, and I got an interesting name. Mike McDonald, defensive coordinator for the Ravens.
Seen that everywhere so far today.
And he was at the game Monday as well. Mike McDonald was on the internship with Jim Harbaugh in Ann Arbor, and then went back to John Harbaugh, and now led the best defense, set up the best defense in college football, and then now has the best defense in the NFL. And it's a matter of if or when, not if, on Mike McDonald. It might not happen this cycle, but he'll get a job eventually. I think the Titans have enough pieces defensively. It starts with Simmons, Jeffrey Simmons, that he can work with them. And then you bring in a good coordinator, and Mike McDonald could work. And people are low on defensive coaches. People have been low on them for a while. I remind you that Jonathan Gannon was a defensive coach. D'Amico Ryans was a defensive coach. Who else is there? There's a few of them. There's 2 or 3 that I liked. Antonio Pierce is a defensive coach. There's really good defensive coaches out there that are going to make sense. And then for the Panthers, Brian Flores. I like Brian Flores to the Panthers. I think
Brian Flores goes to New England.
New England's got to open up. If New England opens up, then
go there to be a coordinator.
If New England opens up, then Vrabel.
Yeah.
But I don't think New England's going to open up.
Thing.
Vrabel in New England? I do. It makes tons of sense.
You don't think Aaron Glenn to Tennessee?
Maybe. If again, Aaron Glenn's another one of those guys. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of sexy names in this hiring cycle.
I know.
There's a lot of guys. Like the Falcons could be behind the scenes making a full court press on what's his face from Georgia, Kirby Smart. You know, like there's guys that make sense to a lot of places. There's things that we aren't thinking of right now. Well,
a couple other ones. Panthers asked Eagles offensive coordinator Brian Johnson to interview, and they also asked.
They're just casting a wide net, as they should.
Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken.
Monken, yeah.
And
he could get a job.
He's interviewing with the Chargers and the Panthers.
Just because of what he's done with Lamar this year.
Mm-hmm. He could. I wouldn't be shocked if Frank Reich lands somewhere. At a minimum, I think Frank Reich's going to be a coordinator somewhere.
He should, eh?
Yeah. He just walked into a bad situation, and he should have never been fired from the Colts.
Yeah.
There's names. There's a lot of names.
That firing, that was fucking 3 shots in to the bottle. And shout out to Jim Irsay.
So I guess he's in some pretty bad health right now.
Well, you would be too if you were drinking a bottle of Chivas a day.
That's true. I think that was a fantastic show today. I think we covered every single point we needed to. Does anybody have anything else to add? Friday show, full playoff preview, wild card game preview. I'm sure we're gonna argue. I can't wait. I wanted to preview these games today so bad, but we're not gonna have the playoff machine, which we will miss. RIP to the playoff machine.
RIP.
We need to take a question. Let's take a question from one of our.
We already did. Angie asked what your tattoo said.
I want to take another one.
Does anybody out there have another question for Uncle Sam? Oh, PJ, Dak for MVP?
Absolutely not.
Anybody else? Ask Uncle Sam. This is your shot right now.
Absolutely not. Dak is not an MVP candidate. Stop.
Leon asked if you would rather have a pint of You Come You Go or a pint of Come Some Young Guy.
Excuse me?
Would you rather have a pint?
Leon didn't say that because he can't talk like that.
Oh.
He doesn't. He couldn't spell that if his life depended on it.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time Leon tries to spell out Wong Fu Wa in the chat, I can't.
Yeah,
he gets it wrong.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Up. Do you have any
Pretty
questions
bad.
for Uncle Sam? Do you have an Ask Uncle Sam question?
I do, but it's more of an off-air thing.
Go ahead.
No, if it's
No,
off air.
it's off-air.
Bruce, what
Ask
about
me
you?
on air. I don't give a
You have a
fuck
question?
No,
for us, Sam?
you'll
Why
care.
are you always so angry in the morning?
because I hate you. That's why.
That's fair.
Anyways, great show today. I thought that was a fantastic show.
What's for dinner?
tonight? Dinner to me tonight is egg roll in a bowl.
It come with egg roll. It come with egg roll. Yeah, it come with egg roll.
Egg roll in a bowl. What's for dinner for you?
I think I'm just gonna make a salad. I haven't eaten all day. I'm gonna make a salad, a little olive oil, lemon juice, garlic, salt, pepper,
The Dago salad.
and then I might just fry up some chicken. Just throw some chicken in a pan. Put the
Bruce?
chicken in the salad.
Chicken, egg whites, rice.
Nope. I don't know what's for dinner. Find out when I get home. Maybe some leftover meatloaf.
What are you? You probably had dinner.
Say that again.
Leftover meatloaf.
Meatloaf. Peggy made some meatloaf.
Jesus Christ.
What are you having for dinner? You probably had dinner already, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
What do you have?
I'm fucking starving right
What are you
now.
having?
I don't know.
You don't know what's cooking?
He was cooking when I left. I have no
What
idea,
was
dude.
it?
I got to go to fucking goddamn Walgreens to get a prescription. I got to go.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Oh, who's your favorite linebacker in the NFL?
Right now,
Yeah.
kid for the Ravens.
Roquan Smith?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Tip Balls Podcast. Make sure to follow our socials, Instagram and Twitter at Tip Balls, TikTok at Tip Balls Podcast. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Music, if Bruce decided to put the episode up, make sure to check us out on YouTube. And remember to click subscribe and ring the bell so you know when we go live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 4:30 and 5. Thank you guys so much for listening. Leon's going to text me and tell me I sounded like Busta Rhymes after this. You will hear from us on Friday.